Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. How are the Sharks going to get a number one defenseman? We have some Will Smith and Philipp Kurashev injury news. Also, Hahn joins us to recount the Sharks' incredible comeback in Pittsburgh.
But before we get to it, a quick note, this show, like always, is free. We make it because we love talking hockey and digging deep into the Sharks for the fans that bleed teal. But it also made possible thanks to the awesome support for BringHockeyBack.net. If you know Bring Hockey Back, you know they've been repping the Sharks for years with some clever, funny t-shirts and a really good feel for what makes hockey culture and Sharks culture special. They also do beautiful custom jerseys for your beer league team for any other occasion. So if you're into hockey and you like to look fresh at the rink, which we all do, check them out at BringHockeyBack.net. Use promo code San Jose Hockey Now for 15% off at BringHockeyBack.net. Supporting them helps support the show. Dan cannot keep his laughter contained at all. But I thought it was good. It was good. Good read. Yeah. I'll try better next time.
I like it, sure.
You're going to get this eventually. Smashing pumpkins. All right.
Yeah.
All right, folks. What are we doing today?
That is great. I went through
old or old school.
Yeah. I brought my Radiohead shirt today because they're on tour for the first time in forever, and I tried to catch them when I was in Europe, but I didn't get a chance to.
Are they coming around here? I didn't check that. I didn't see that. Are they
not yet, but yeah, there's theories that they're going to do Europe and then announce like a North American tour, but not confirmed yet. Yeah, we are going if they are here though. Like all of us.
Real going. Quick, I haven't talked to you. The Sigur Rós show, by the way, was.
Oh yeah.
Was different because it was with an orchestra, so it was a little sleepy at times, but it was also incredible.
Nice. That was in San Francisco, right?
San Francisco, in I can't even tell you the venue's name right now. I can't think, but it was you could. I mean, there's a ton of homeless people outside. It looks like nothing. And
Billy Graham. It's probably the Billy Graham. Yeah.
No,
Civic Center.
It was not Billy Graham.
Oh,
no.
was it? Okay.
No, and then you walk in, and this is pretty awesome. Orpheum Theater. Orpheum.
Okay.
It's great. It's a great show.
They are so cinematic. I remember,
we got Randy coming. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there you go.
He's a professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come on, guys.
Well, it's nice to all be back together.
Polos?
The last couple of episodes, I guess we had like a solo Dan.
How were the ratings, by the way, Sheng?
I was still here. I don't think it's not solo.
How were the ratings?
A duo.
How were the ratings last week, Sheng? How did we do last week with the ratings?
They were fine, yeah. So our numbers
2 million
are
views?
pretty stable.
Did we get to 2 million views?
5 million, Dan. 5 million, Dan.
Or 2. Was it 2 views?
Somewhere between
Probably
2 and 5
2 to 2 million, if we're being honest. So.
I think my nephew back home watched it.
Oh, good.
Nice.
What did he say?
He said, Boyle sucks, is what he said.
There was one review that said something like that. Was that your nephew?
Yeah, I think that's my nephew, yeah.
Amazing.
And then the next person said something, because I joked that my, whatever his name was, wearing 22. And that's why I don't go online, because if I did, I would start Someone was like, you've been retired 10 years, Dan.
Online.
I'm like, it's a fucking joke. It's a joke, people. It's sarcasm. Get it? It's a joke.
Macklin learned not to go online at 19, so it's good that we're learning in our 40s.
I don't do it. I'd be in a fight every day.
Yeah, get to listen to us. It's be fucking terrible.
Every day.
Zubair reads our comments for us, apparently, so he shields us from it. So.
Oh yeah, Sheng does it best. You just gotta take the positives.
Yeah, you gotta love when your nephew says Boyle sucks. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
It's out of love. It's love.
Thank you, Sebastian, you asshole.
Is he just saying like you're a great player, just not a good uncle? Is that what he's trying to say?
I believe his name is the Boiling Boyle, which is a terrible name, but people feel free to bash him. His name is Sebastian Boyle. The Boiling Boyle is his whatever name, and just get on him.
That's so good.
Wow, you doxed him.
Yeah.
Well, he writes, Boyle sucks.
Stop that.
Fucking little shit.
How old is Sebastian? Are we
Sebastian
like,
is, we're talking about a 24-year-old.
Okay. All right. So he's
no longer.
he can take this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can take this. All right.
Yeah,
We're not like cyberbullying a kid.
No. He's
No,
a
that's
24-year-old.
okay if it's related to Dan, all right? That kid
He
needs to
might
toughen up, right?
might be 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2001. Yeah, 2001.
2001.
So that's 20.
Jeez.
Yeah.
God, I feel old.
We're not going to go into the I feel old moment. I know. See?
Yeah.
I knew it. That's exactly where my head goes. It's
What's
like
that?
a 24-year-old.
Oh, I feel old.
Shit. Yeah. All right. Well, we got quite a lot of fun. A couple of updates to talk about this episode. Obviously, Randy's going to be hopping on a little bit. The road trip was pretty exciting. Great finish. I think they were above 500 at the end of it.
They won 3 games, yep.
Yep. So just at the finish line, and
I don't know how they won 3 games, but they did.
Hey, they managed to.
Miracles.
You win.
Yeah, yep.
You win, you win. I mean,
All right.
so we got lots of, yeah. Go ahead, Shane.
Let's start with this question up top, though, right? So, Dan, you watch Macklin Celebrini stand up for Will Smith. So all the fans are clamoring to put. There's no C without Macklin in it, or there is a C in Macklin in it. And so, is Macklin Celebrini ready to be the captain, Dan Boyle?
Well, as you remember, I was not a fan of him getting a C this year, and I stand behind that. However, I was quoted as saying maybe in 2 years, but he is now making me believe that he will probably be ready for it possibly next year. He is no doubt the best player on that team, one of the best players in the league. I can't say enough about him. I did a podcast with when they played in Toronto, talked about him for about 7 straight minutes. I think they were like, okay, enough. But he's that good, and his work ethic is amazing, and he is no doubt going to be a captain. Will it be next year or the year after? I don't know, but he's awesome. He's great, and I love everything about what he's doing on the ice, and couldn't be more impressed.
Just if you're on the bench there, Dan, what's it mean to you on the bench if you're seeing your very best player, but also too he's 19, starting a fight?
I love it. I mean, at the end of the day, if he gets hurt, then we're not talking about that. We're talking about shit.
Sure.
You know, but I love it. I thought we talked about it a little bit off camera. I thought the hit was clean. So, I think that's where one of those where Smith, obviously, he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be, I think the ego gets in the way there, and you're trying to like sacrifice the body for the puck. But I think that's one of those, when you reach one hand like that, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position to get hit. So even if I'm a coach, I'm not getting mad at you if you're pulling up there or whatever. There's no benefit there. So just protect yourself first. Obviously, he'll learn that as he continues to play. But I love players stepping up for each other. And I've always loved when your skilled guys get in a fight, because obviously, again, if they don't get hurt, the other players are like, holy shit, like Patty Marleau's fighting and Joe Pavelski fighting and Logan Couture's fighting. It just makes everyone, it binds the group that much more closer. And I loved seeing it. And I don't think I think it's not a coincidence that they came back. I think things like that can create this energy, this buzz, this feeling on the team where it's this togetherness feeling, and we fucking got this. And I think you can argue that was probably the turning point of the game.
That's what John Klingberg said. And I myself actually have agreed with you, Dan, very cautious about giving this much responsibility to Macklin. But Macklin he's remarkable. He's special. And so if anyone can handle it, it's going to be a guy like him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only question, and none of us can answer it, is how is he in the locker room? How is he? That's on the ice, 100%. Give him the C right now. His work ethic, I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, the work ethic needs to be there, and it is. Obviously, the skill is there. He's on the ice a lot. All those things are there. Now it's just kind of the off-ice stuff that I'm not privy to. But I couldn't be more impressed with this kid.
What do you guys think of coming out of the Olympic break? Macklin, Celebrini, C. Put the C bigger on the back of the jersey. What do you think? That's a good marketing or no?
Put the C on the back?
I'm just fucking around.
No.
I think if they're headed into the playoffs, slap the C on them. I don't care if they make the playoffs. Like that's remarkable.
No.
Fuck it.
No.
We gotta earn it.
No. This year's this year. Next year will be next year. We'll talk about it.
I've never seen that happen in the middle of the season unless there's a trade or something like that for them to slap a C on. That would be a statement, though. If we come out to practice.
Something.
There's no practice today, by the way, on Monday, but come out to practice tomorrow and there's a C on Macklin Celebrini.
No.
That'd be crazy.
Stop it. And obviously, you guys, media, I've seen they're in the playoff picture. There's a long way to go here. So everyone needs to, and I'm sure these guys in the locker room are also telling everyone to calm down here. We're in a good spot, but there's a long fucking way to go. You and I, Sheng, talked about the 40 games in between the first 20 and the last 20. They're in it right now, and there's a significant long way to go. And these guys are going to find out, these young guys are going to find out what it is to be an NHL player come games 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70. It's tough.
Yeah. He also still has to learn how to talk to refs, which is an important part of being a captain.
Well, he's learning that too, I think. So,
yeah. And can't be getting 10-minute misconducts every time you talk to refs.
Yeah. And that's something, too.
This year's the learning to fly here.
The refs are, some refs have egos more than others. And whether he's the one of the best players in the league right now, some of the referees will be like, their egos are bigger than that. They're like, you're 19. You're not going to fucking tell me what to call or what to do. I've been doing this for 30 years. Like, calm down. So that's an important thing. Is he's got to earn that with the referees as well, and that just comes with time and experience.
And just to add to that, to the question itself, just watching him stick up for your teammate, I think like everything that you want from a captain, your hardest working player, he's just adding to his toolkit of leadership skills. It feels like every 10 games to where, Dan, to your point, I think, by next year, I think he's ready.
Yeah.
These are interesting experiences, though, the way you put it, though, Zubair, because maybe this year is like that learning year where he learns a little more about how to talk to refs. He's, got into a fight kind of for the first time. And these are just kind of, okay, these are like, it's really, it's like watching your kid grow up. he's learning all these things, but he's learning at an exponential rate, though. And by maybe next year, he's going to be ready for that. I think
that's the beauty of what we're all watching here. I mean, you're seeing him score clutch goals. You're watching the character development unfold before our eyes. And, you're watching this comeback and to Dan's point and Klingberg's point of how that was the turning point of the game was that hit. I mean, that's the sign of good leadership. Like, it's what we saw in Game 7, how the team rallied with, Couture and some of the other leaders of that team taking on their back in Game 7 against Vegas when Pavelski went down. It had that sort of feeling to it. And that's a good team. That's a close team. That's an emotional team. It's a passionate team. And it's all led by Macklin Celebrini. So it's just a matter of time. And I think it could be as early as next year.
A different way, too, that so looking at this, like, sort of like, are we just like blowing up Macklin because he's a Sharks guy? I don't think we are. So like, a month ago we talked about this, and I compared Macklin to LeBron James, and I said we are all witnesses, right? And that seems crazy because LeBron James is LeBron. But so I was talking to Dieter Kurtenbach. He's a sports columnist for Mercury News, right? He's on KNBR, 49ers, basically a big Bay Area guy, right? A big Bay Area sports guy. And I told him, like, that's what I see from Macklin. Dieter's been at a couple of Sharks games recently, and he said the same thing. He just was like, yes, like, that is a very apt comparison for Macklin to say LeBron James. It isn't wild. That's, that's what has been wild a year ago. It would have been wild before the draft. But anyway, I think that's where we are at with Macklin. And also, we're with another legend right now, too. A man who needs no introduction, Randy Hahn.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, Boiler, right, buddy.
What's up, buddy?
Well, just
Randy, in case you weren't aware, you are required to have a beverage with us. So.
I am without. Sorry.
All right. I'll text the wife. I'll have her bring something to you.
Not that it's too early in the day, but
no, why not? It's Friday. It's Friday after all, right?
Right. Yeah, we're almost past noon.
Oh wait, no, it's
There's no practice today.
All right, well, I'll open one for you,
It's 2:30 where I'm at, so I got some hours on you. It's 2:30 here.
Well, Randy, we wanted to have you on, to talk about your incredible call for the Pittsburgh game. I'm glad that you did not, as some people thought, that you may have suffered a heart attack on the air. So we can confirm that Randy Hahn is very, very well here and awesome. So Randy, first question for you is just how long have you been holding a call like this? I mean, it's been a long time since the Sharks have been this compelling.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's probably since Game 7 against Vegas in 2019 in the playoffs. And in the regular season, probably beyond that. But, it's not one of those things you plan or think about, or at least I don't. It's organic. I mean, nobody on this podcast or watching it right now when it was 5-1 thought it was going to happen, right? So, and I'm included in that. But our great producer, Sean Madison, always encourages us on our telecasts, Drew and I, and occasionally when Dan's on with us, is to prepare for the unexpected. And you always have it in the back of your mind that something could happen that you never see before. And so you're mindful of that. And I always say, this job that I have is like, and every season really is a roller coaster wrapped up in a soap opera. Every team's going to have ups and downs. And every team's going to have things that happen throughout the year that are out of the ordinary that you wouldn't expect. And there's some drama in the dressing room from time to time and things like that. And every once in a while, you're going to have a situation like this. So you're mindful of it, but I'm not sure it's anything you can get ready for or have a call that you've been sitting on for 6 years. That certainly wasn't the case for me in Pittsburgh. That was from the heart, from the soul. And apparently I touched a nerve because I've had some nice reaction from it.
I saw a clip, Randy, that I think, I forgot who shared it, but it's on our Instagram. We reposted it. There's a clip of your voice and your intonation on every single goal. And there's like a slight elevation in pitch almost perfectly until the final overtime winner. It's just beautiful how that, to your point, you could feel how natural it was and just how much enjoyment you were having watching the game. And I think that's what's so special about that moment is you conveyed it so perfectly with your voice, as you always do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. And one of the benefits of doing this for a long time is you do gain the experience of how to play a moment. We are in the entertainment business. The athletes are. And all we do is enhance what they do. I mean, none of this, we wouldn't be having this conversation if John Klingberg and Macklin Celebrini and Tyler Toffoli and Alex Wenberg and all the rest of it wouldn't have done it. It wouldn't matter what I said. So it's all about feeling the moment, sensing things. And when they made it 5-2 and you looked up on the clock and you went, well, at least it's going to be interesting. And then things unfolded with Will Smith and Macklin going to the penalty box, and the Sharks ended up scoring on Erik Karlsson playing with a broken stick, I believe, was the 5-on-3 that resulted in all that. And all of a sudden, you start seeing other things happening, and then it triggers in your brain, okay, now that if they get that next goal, that level of how I'm going to call it is going to get a little more exciting. And then if they get it to 5-4, okay, now it's on again. And then, of course, when Tyler tied it, and then I still, so many things have to happen for that game to end up the way it did, including Brian Rust hitting the post in overtime. I mean, another event that, but those are the kind of things that lead up to magical things, right? It's just like in Game 7 in 2019 against Vegas. Even though they were down 3-0 and took a 4-3 lead, Jonathan Marchessault ties it at the end, and made Barclay Goodrow scoring the goal in overtime somewhat the whole thing more magical, and Brian Rust hitting the post. It was just one more ingredient into the stew that turned into the greatest regular season comeback in franchise history. And I knew it was going to be something close to the greatest. I didn't know in the moment that those 4 goals in that time span was actually going to be an all-time first for the Sharks, because they've had some other pretty good comebacks over 35 years, and I wish I had the mental capacity for that kind of instant recall. But the call I made, I think, was that it was one of the greatest comebacks in franchise history, and absolutely it was. I think you still have to put the Vegas game ahead of it, because that's Game 7 of a playoff series. But in the regular season, nothing will top this, or nothing can top this yet.
Well, yeah, Randy, I did want to ask, you've kind of alluded to it, where does this rank in games that you've called, playoffs or regular season?
In games, absolutely, for me, it's third. Number 1 is still going to be still going to be 1994 when Jamie Baker scored in Detroit in Game 7. The Sharks, snuck into the playoffs that year as the 8th seed, and his goal ended up being the winner. And as we know, they knocked out the top seed and the Stanley Cup favorite that year, the Red Wings. So, and that was the first big good thing that had ever happened to the Sharks. And because I was involved with Pro Hockey San Jose and helping to bring the team to San Jose in a small way, that moment will never leave number 1 for me. Probably because I won't get to call a Stanley Cup game, as that's goes to the network. So that will always be number 1, because I was personally invested in it, and then to see the team do that and get that for the city of San Jose is something that will always be number 1 to me. And then Game 7 against Vegas is number 2, and this is number 3. Even though there was another Game 7 double overtime winner by Ray Whitney, this I think just feels bigger than that, because of what the Sharks have been going through, and 6 years of pain for the fans. Throw the pandemic into the middle of all that. And it's a seminal moment, and I really believe we will look back on it going forward as a profound moment of change for the franchise as this team heads forward. This is not. I don't mean this as breaking news or anything, but I honestly believe, as I sit here on what is today,
Monday, December 15th, 11:28 a.m.
Yeah, this team will make the playoffs this year.
Wow.
There's no question in my mind now. And there wasn't really before Saturday. I really have felt for about a month now that this is a playoff team. It reminds me of the 93-94 team when we started out 0-8-2. It was a worse start than this year when we went, I believe, 0-6-2, 0-4-2. 0-4-2. Yep. But I feel the energy. I feel the inertia. And I don't know if you can directly compare the parts, but Larionov's that's Celebrini, and if you want to say Makarov is the Smith or the Wenberg, and Askarov is the Urbe. You could put those pieces any way you want, but there's something special in that dressing room. The feeling on the plane coming home was something I haven't felt in years. And Boiler can speak to that. When there's an energy back there with the guys, it's a special thing, and it's been gone for a long time. Yeah. And it's back. And this team's going to make the playoffs.
Woo.
Can you describe that? Wow. You tweeted that out. There's a vibe on the airplane right now that's been missing for years. I know you can't get into particulars of it, but can you just talk a little bit more about that? Just like the feeling or what it was.
It's just an energy. It's a feeling of joy. And I'm not saying that they celebrated for 5 hours flying back. That's just not the reality of the situation.
They watched the Human Centipede for an hour and a half.
1, 2, and 3.
But getting on the plane and listening to the guys, and this is a diverse group, and you've got guys that are well into their 30s. I mean, Ryan Reaves is 38. And there's a 19-year-old guy who is carrying this team some nights, and he loves that 38-year-old guy. He's twice his age. And there's a bond there between those two and everybody in the middle. and they're playing for each other. You can tell. And what, the way Macklin reacted to the hit, which for me wasn't a dirty hit. I mean, what Wotherspoon did was a hockey play. Mm-hmm. I know people are calling it vicious and all that. I didn't see it that way. I just saw him finishing a check against a player who maybe wasn't expecting it. But the way Macklin reacted was the way every Sharks fan would have wanted him to react, and Eklund too. Eklund actually jumped in there first, and these guys are playing for each other, and they care about each other. And don't ask me at whose expense in the Western Conference the Sharks making the playoffs will be. I don't know who that's going to be that they're going to knock out, but they're going to make it.
Wow! That is
big
something.
statement.
So let me. Oh, did you want to hop in, Keegan?
Yeah, I was going to say, Randy. Yeah. So you said that this vibe is a little bit different. The play on the ice from beginning of last year to now, could you have expected such a change this quickly with Macklin?
No,
not at all.
We expected improvement, and as I looked at our team and our season, coming off a 52-point year, what were there, 20 wins? In my view, 70 points was the kind of the barrier that I thought they could get to. And as far as Macklin, I think in the preseason when we did a podcast, the Sharks broadcasters, I said he would flirt with 100 points, but probably end up at around 90. I think Macklin will go over 100 points now. And I think that the Sharks, if they're going to make the playoffs, certainly it's going to take somewhere between 80 and 90, or around there. Probably not as much as last year because of all the overtimes that we've seen so far in the year. If that holds true, it doesn't really matter. Once I've put myself out on a limb and said they're going to make it, it doesn't matter how many points they make it with if they're going to make it. But no, roundabout way of answering your question. No, I didn't expect it to turn this way this fast. But that's a testament to team building, roster building, and that's Mike Grier and his staff. They've put in some pieces that have been tremendous this year. And you looked at them, okay, these are placeholders for, Chernyshov or whoever coming up from the American Hockey League. And Chernyshov's going to be up with the team now. But it turns out they haven't played like placeholders at all. They played like members of a team, of a group that care about each other. And now these guys, unless there's injuries, which unfortunately there are now, the guys in the American League, they're not going to get handed the jobs. They better knock down some doors to get the jobs because these veteran players are playing very well. I mean, Orlov's been fantastic. John Klingberg. I know there's people on this podcast who were ripping him and wanted to see him out of here, which was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of. This is a guy who had double. This is a guy who's had double hip surgery. He barely played for Edmonton last year at all. They didn't use him in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Boiler can speak to an injury like that. It's like guys who break their legs. It takes a year to come back.
I talked about that last time.
John Klingberg, with the way he plays and the mobility he showed dancing the blue line in that game on Saturday, it takes a while to get back to there.
Crosby, yeah.
This is a fantastic hockey player who is showing how good he is right now. And Mike Grier knew what he was doing. And of course, there's an element of hope in there that he can bounce back to what we're seeing now. But now we're seeing the John Klingberg that he thought he was going to get at some point, and it's taken past 30 games for Klinger to get there. But he's getting there now. And there's going to be some dips with him. He's not going to play like that every game. But now there's no question who's running the power play. There's no question who our puck moving D is. It's John Klingberg. It was going to be all along. It was just going to take a while for him to get there. But patience is the hardest thing for us. And it's the virtue of good roster builders like Mike Grier. Patience is what gets you to the finish line.
Yep. I agree, and I did talk about that with Shanger last. We talked about being an older guy, and I talked about injuries and coming back from that being, instead of bouncing back right away, it takes a little bit longer, and we're seeing that with Klingberg. I thought, obviously had a great game, but I'm glad that we allowed him. We gave him a little bit of time, and yeah, there's no doubt. Randy, I want to just switch semi-gears, or not gears, but I recall when we played, we were down 4-0. That was one of my favorite calls. We were down to LA in the playoffs 4-0 and came back. And I don't know if it was Seto's goal or Jumbo's goal that ended up winning the game. So that was one of my biggest compliment to you. I mean, there's a ton I can give you, but you always do a great job of whether it's a Monday night against back then, Phoenix where no one's watching, or a Game 7 versus Vegas. You have the ability to make most calls be like the greatest goal at that time. So I want to compliment you on that.
And I remember that game.
But yeah, that's another one would be for my 6 years being there. That was a special one.
That was, and again, it's playoffs. And then the series ending goal by Jumbo, the Jumbo slide.
That was the other one, with the Jumbo slide. I wasn't sure which game was which. Jumbo slide, and then Seto had the goal down 4-0. My quick question to you, Randy, and most people probably don't know this, and I don't either. How many games have you called as a broadcaster officially? Do you know the number?
I have it somewhere here, but it's regular season. It's probably 2250, something like that, and then probably another 150 playoff games. But the Sharks, for their purposes of recording the number of games I've done, stick with regular season, just like the players do. When they get the silver stick at 1,000 games. 200
games. I played over 1,000. That was a lifetime. So double that. That's impressive.
I've got to say, and I don't, you guys are probably running out of time talking about something as trivial as announcing, but I've got to say, Saturday, it was a little bit of an out of body experience for me. When I got off the air, I was almost afraid that I was too emotional. I was crying. There were tears in my eyes when it happened, and even now thinking about it, I'm starting to well up right now. And Drew felt the same way, and I don't know why we did, but I think it's we've seen the fans drift away, and now we're starting to see them come back. And we've seen the feeling, especially on the weekends. And the best example, I think, was the back-to-back Winnipeg, Florida weekend when the Sharks beat both of those teams. And the feeling in the building felt like the old days. And then to go into a place like Pittsburgh, a team that beat us in the Stanley Cup final, the only time we've been there, the whole Celebrini, Crosby, synergy that's hopefully going to be in place at the Olympics if Macklin gets chosen, and I think he will. And I don't know what all that went into in that game. And maybe you're tired at the end of a road trip and it's 5-1 and it's like, let's just get the rest of this period done. Let's get on the plane. Let's de-ice and get the hell out of Pittsburgh. And then for them to do that and see what this group was capable of, and to have Macklin set up a veteran guy like Klingberg, who's trying to reclaim his career and get back on track after that serious injury. All of that together, I don't know. It was so emotional. And it came out, I think, at the end when I said Sharks win. And there was a pause there after my call when they all gathered behind the net. And I hadn't said Sharks win yet. And then that's when it wasn't so much that I lost my voice. I think I was just a little bit overcome. I was very verklempt. And I felt a little stupid about it. I called my wife Andrea afterwards, and she didn't watch it. She was busy baking sourdough. But
watching when it was 5-1.
I said, go back and watch the tape, watch the last 8 minutes. Yeah, and watch the video, watch the last 8 minutes, and watch overtime, and tell me if I sounded stupid, because I think I might have, but I guess I didn't. And as I said, I touched a nerve, and I've had a lot of Sharks fans reach out to me saying they were in tears in that moment too. So I guess it was just one of those kind of moments, and that doesn't happen very often in hockey games, but yeah, it did.
I guess it's more of a question for Boyle than anything else, and also for you, Randy. You were saying you're so overcome with emotion and you were crying after the game. How do the players respond going forward? That kind of high, that emotional high that you have from this kind of win.
Yeah, I didn't go into the dressing room. I packed my stuff up and I went to the bus. And then we have two buses, one for the media and support staff, and then a player's bus. But again, that that their buzz, their joy spilled onto the airplane and lasted for a good hour. But it was really different. Like you could tell they realized, it's a tough road trip, 5 games. And we looked at the stretch, Drew and I, even before that road trip that started with the game at Vegas, and then the home game against Washington. Then you go into Dallas and Carolina. Those are hard games. And then you finish up with Toronto and Pittsburgh, teams that, have been on the upswing this year, although Toronto's had kind of a hot and cold year, and Toronto's struggling a little bit now. But we looked at that 10-game stretch, and I said, when we get through the end of those 10 games, we're going to know a lot more about this team. Like, are they for real or are they pretenders? They're for real.
Yeah, sorry, just going to plug in my computer. This is the veteran coming out in me here, but I think you asked about how the players should feel. I think you celebrate that win for sure. You enjoy it, but that's where the veterans need to come in and be like, hey, it was a big win, but we got a long way to go here. That's why you never want to get through the course of a season I'm just talking as a player now. You never want to get too high and you never want to get too low. And that's where your Ryan Reaves and Klingberg and whoever, the Wenberg, the leaders in the locker room, Toffoli, Mario, guys are going to keep the guys in check, where I think they have a day off today, enjoy it, but, come back to work tomorrow and that game is done with. Now you got to follow it up. So,
well, and I think and I don't know if this is Ryan's intent for taking today off, because they had yesterday off too. And you rarely see a team get 2 days off in a row during the regular season outside of a holiday break or something like this. But and obviously they're banged up and they have injuries and guys going to IR and stuff like that. But I'm wondering too if a little bit of what he was thinking was, the guys today, they're going to get asked about Pittsburgh again because it was a road game. And I know, Sheng, you were there, but not everybody was there that covers the team. And there would have been more cameras maybe than usual. Some of the local TV outlets that might not normally show up for a morning skate after that would be like, we all want to talk about the Pittsburgh game. And what was that like? And it's the biggest Now that's gone. Because at tomorrow morning's morning skate, nobody's going to be talking about Pittsburgh. They're going to be talking about the Calgary Flames, and the focus is going to be on the night. And that might not have been a bad call from that standpoint as well, because that noise, and it becomes noise. You're right, Boiler. 24 hours after that win, you can't be talking about it anymore. You got to move on. There's another game. And all of a sudden now that gets forgotten. It gets left. We'll keep talking about it on the broadcast and all that, but they won't get asked about it at the morning skate. Or if they do, they're going to want to talk about today, which is what it should be about the moment. You have to stay in the moment. It's such a long schedule. And if you get caught up in the afterglow of the greatest comeback in franchise history, then you're going to get it shoved up your ass.
Yeah, you want to be a playoff team. You got to move on. It's now that I'm on the media side of it. We are going to talk about it. I'm sure there'll be mention of it. There'll be highlights of it during the next game. The comeback's going to be on TV. Boom, boom, boom. But as far as the locker room goes and the players go, you're talking about Calgary. You're moving on. You're talking about building on top of that win, moving forward.
Well, and as you know, Boiler, that is a really important mindset to instill in a group. And the veterans know it, but the young guys maybe not as much. That is exactly the mindset you need in the playoffs. It doesn't matter if you win 7-1 or lose 6-0. You have to, because that last game will have nothing to do with the next game unless you do dwell on it, and then it very well could, affect you in a negative way. So to establish a brick in your development, game 30, whatever, into the season that can be used in a playoff setting is great coaching. It's perfect, and hopefully the players take it to heart.
I like it.
I think maybe it's a good way to close right here. You mentioned Ryan Warsawski. Randy, I want to try this. You talked about Macklin, Larionov, some of the comps there, Will Smith, maybe Makarov. Ryan Warsawski has a passing resemblance to Kevin Constantine, don't you think?
Well, maybe a little bit, but definitely not in personality. No slight on Kevin, who I grew to enjoy, but it only took about 2 years to grow to enjoy. If you want the skinny on Kevin Constantine, you got to talk to Drew Amenda, because he was his video coach, and I knew whatever little hair Drew had back then, Kevin caused Drew to pull it out.
Randy, thanks so much for coming on.
Wait. We're not done with Randy. We're not done with Randy yet. Just one more thing with Randy. I think our millions. By the way, we have millions of subscribers. Millions.
Yeah, sure you do.
We don't.
I want to let the million subscribers know that Randy has a very not secretive, but like he has a very hidden talent. He loves to do karaoke late at night, and he's very good at it. I
love to do karaoke too.
I want to ask Randy. I mean, I know the answer, but I want to, the fans want to know what are your maybe one or two favorite karaoke songs that you like to play over and over and over and over again. Should you have an ex-Shark like myself spend the night trying to get some rest, and it's 3 a.m. and I just keep hearing the same fucking song over and over again? What would that song
Start
be?
spreading the news. I'm leaving today.
That's one of them. And then the other one is Johnny Cash.
I'm stuck
Ring
in
of Fire.
Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
So Randy,
Sheng's getting jealous now.
I've spent the night at Randy's a few nights.
Beautiful voice.
The guest room is right on the other side of where this karaoke setup is. And I'm trying to go to sleep, and it's just Ring of Fire, that Ring of Fire. I'm like,
hey, we had a party here. I think it might have been for my 2000th game, and Dan was gracious enough to show up. And we still had quite a few people here at probably midnight, maybe 20 people. Dan got up to do his karaoke, which was one of the most profane heavy metal things I've ever heard. Halfway through the song, there were 8 people left. So if you guys want to clear a room, like if you want to go to bed and clear the room and get everybody to go home, have Dan sing.
So
Dan's attention.
So the song was "Killing in the Name" by Rage Against the Machine,
Yeah.
and the chorus goes, "Fuck you, I don't." You don't tell me. Yeah. So this keeps like, fuck you, and I'm just going, fuck you. And yeah, I cleared half the room. That was fun.
And the fans are like, fuck you, I'm not doing what you tell me, I'm going home.
Do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do. And I'm just going, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you. And then there's like 75-year-old ladies going, no.
Yeah. Gotta run.
Andrea was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I think I asked you a couple weeks ago what your karaoke song is, if you're into karaoke, and you said you're not, and so there you go.
My last two at Randy Hahn's house were "Killing in the Name of," and then the last one I did, which was at the last party, which was Pink Pony Club.
That's right.
Is that the name of the song?
Oh, that's a good one.
Pink
That's
Pony Club.
That's funny.
Ode to the Edmonton Oilers.
So I have a very wide range.
Yeah, you do. We're doing a spiritual Christmas karaoke party here next week, and you're not invited.
I was wondering where my invite was, but yeah, Randy Hahn's house karaoke is always a pretty special moment for sure. And we're sober.
Randy,
we're sober.
I got one last one for you, Randy, if you have a minute. Just to talk about that feeling on the plane ride back, and I think this might be why I also felt emotional at that game, is it felt like there's a larger sense of belief that might come from this win in the team in itself. And we all know what a team believes in itself, what they can accomplish. I don't know if that's something that you can articulate, you may have felt or have been feeling with this team, and just if you can expand on that.
Well, I think these guys have believed in themselves for a long time. And, as individuals, and Dan can speak to this, you don't get to where they are without a lot of belief in yourself for a long, long time. Now, you're talking about the collective belief in the group. Mm-hmm. And I think that they were there a while ago. But that's the kind of game that is going to shock the hockey world, at least for a 24-hour cycle. And it ended up kind of getting neutered with the with the Minnesota-Vancouver trade, which instantly grabbed the headlines away from that game, or I think it would have got even wider, play league-wide. But I just think when you're a group that, and especially if you were part of this group last year, and even the year before that, if you're a Mario Ferraro or a William Eklund, or even Macklin and Will last year with all the losing and 52 points, and the way the season ended again, I think, what was it, a 9-game losing streak at the end? I mean, it's hideous, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And from that to this, within the same calendar year, that shows a tremendous amount of growth, belief, maturity in their games, and it's just a fun thing to see. And they're going to have a rough patch again this year. It's just inevitable in our league. There's going to be a losing streak again. But when you go through something like this and you win a game like that, I think as a group, you can pull yourself out of anything. And if it's a 6-game losing streak, you can get yourselves out of it, because you've always got that touchstone of that moment, that game. Hey, we did that. We can do anything.
Well, Randy, thanks so much for jumping on last minute here. So sorry I didn't send you the invite early enough. So
no problem. And when you do find, all good things end, you guys. And when this podcast one day goes off the air for the last time, and you do your last show, and you really want to put it to bed and bury it, have Boilers sing at the very end, and then that will bury the podcast forever. It'll go straight into the time capsule.
I love it. That's the
or you can have one of Randy's wife's cupcakes. Either way.
Oh, okay, nice.
Either way, people leave.
Okay, let's go. Let's throw Boiler.
That's not nice. We know I've had those cupcakes. They're delicious.
I'm going Celebrini on you now. See you guys.
See you later.
See you, Randy.
Thanks.
Yeah, Randy's wife was on Cupcake Wars. And,
really?
won. I want to
Yeah,
say
they're
won.
legit cupcakes. They've served them like in between periods at games.
Yeah,
so
she's going to enjoy this. So my first time meeting Randy's wife was at a golf tournament years ago, and her name is Andrea, and the cupcake, it's called Frost. If you guys are in San Jose, please stop in. They are delicious, but don't let her know that. They don't have kids, or she doesn't, and she has a dog, but her cupcakes are like her babies. And I kind of knew that even without knowing her. And being the sarcastic prick asshole that I can be, we were sitting at the same table, and she supplied the cupcakes for the whole golf tournament. And it was time to go get the cupcakes. Everyone gets up, comes back to their table, and she's to my left. And I barely know her, but we had talked for maybe 30, 40 minutes at this point throughout dinner. And I could tell her cupcakes are like her babies. And I'm talking to the person to my right, knowing she's watching me. I grab a bite of the cupcake. I spit it right out on the table. Like, big bite, spit it right out. Look to the person to my right. I go, have you had these? These are fucking dry and terrible. And she's to my left, and I swear to God, if there was a ring camera, or like, her face turned white. She was horrified. I'm fucking with her. It's a total, like, me being a dick prick. But she was mortified, like, oh my God. And to this day, now that we have a friendship, every time I go to the house, I bring her Hostess cupcakes, because I let her know that these are very moist and very good, unlike hers. So that's our little bit. But that day was one of the lowest days of her life. She was mortified because she's so freaking, like, her cupcakes are like, it's her job, it's her life, it's, Anyways, shout out to Andrea. Frost is the name of the cupcake company. If you guys happen to go there, but don't let her know they're good, but they are pretty solid.
One thing I've learned in a couple months of recording with you, Dan, is you're a real dick.
yeah. I love sarcasm. I love dry.
He just, yeah.
I
we need a
like
term for it.
Like one of my favorite shows is Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like
I don't know if
Larry
people,
David like
it.
Larry David. I mean,
we should start a Spite cupcake store right
and
next
it's
to Frost.
fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. And so dry sarcasm is not for everyone, but the people that I hang out with and some of my good friends, and I love dry sarcasm. I think it's hilarious.
You've just been human
centipeded.
centipeded.
I was being totally sarcastic. Dan actually has been great. I love Dan. But let's give Andrea
100%.
though another plug though. Look
Frost Company
Cupcake Factory.
Yes.
Frost Cupcake Factory. Definitely not dry. Definitely not.
Maybe they should sponsor a podcast. I don't know.
I mean, you're just saying we need more sponsors.
6'7".
Maybe we get a Frost Cupcake T-shirt, Andrea. Maybe a Frost Cupcake T-shirt.
I would take payment in just cupcakes.
You know
Let's be honest. Just a couple of cupcakes. That's like fine.
Hey, don't say you're so short, Zubair. At least a half dozen, goddammit.
You need like a segment for like the Frost Cupcake of the week or something like that, and some sort of like
Frost Cupcake sweet moment of the week.
There it is.
There you go.
God, beautiful. Sheng.
All right. Speaking of, I'm gonna get a beer now. I feel like I need to continue with this. So
we're driving you to drink.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was great. That was great by Randy to jump on like that. And okay, let's just get back to it. So, all right. So, any impressions of the road trip in general, or should we talk straight into the injuries and who they called up? They called up Igor Chernyshov and Ethan Cardwell. So we're gonna talk about were those the right guys to call up? But anyway, I'm gonna go grab a beer.
Okay, you do that.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, just to comment on the road trip again, above 500. I think with the Sharks, you've been seeing this win one, lose one, and for them to come out above 500, I think was a big difference maker, and obviously in the way they did. That Toronto game, I thought was a very exciting finish as well. And to Randy's point about the development of this team, you also saw the 6-on-5 do really well in Toronto, and that also carry over. And I thought it was interesting in the Pittsburgh game too, without Will Smith and without Kurashev, it was a very veteran power play, actually. Cheers. And yeah, it was just an incredible road trip altogether. I mean, you beat Carolina, Toronto, and Pittsburgh. Those are some good teams. So,
yeah,
fantastic hockey.
Randy was saying that Klingberg really came into his own. Like, just the past couple of games, he's been like very, very much what we were hoping he could be, and it just took this long to really get him comfortable.
It's what we talked about the last 3-4 weeks. A, confidence. B, opportunity. And C, like, just as an older guy dealing with injuries, and I haven't had what he's had, so I can't even imagine going through hip surgery or double hip surgery or whatever. But it does take a little bit longer to get going as you get older. And he's on a hot streak right now. He's going to continue. He'll have a lull at some point. He'll have a drop. Mm-hmm. But, obviously we're seeing the player that, like you said, Mike Greer wanted and expected. And, he's been good.
I think
Randy said that on this podcast that someone had said that we should get rid of him. I don't know if that's what we said. I don't think we said that.
I don't think anyone said that.
None of us said that.
But I would say, though... Oh, go ahead, though. Yeah, Zubair.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to that, too, because Randy had mentioned that, and like Boilers did, that, this is working to Mike Greer's plan, but I always like to bring attention to the development staff and the coaching staff, too, and they did scratch Klingberg, and he's even said in his interview that, that was a big turning point for him and for him to reassess. Yeah. And, going back to the Marco Sturm interview, too, where he talked about why he sits people, it kind of referenced that thought in my head where I was like, this is a good reset. And, I think Mike Greer also was aware that he'll never be the player he is, but that's not the player they want from him. They kind of want him, the play to come to him and for him to be the player that he is today. And letting him, and that's a hard thing as an athlete. I mean, to think you are the player you are before, and you guys talked about this a little bit in the last pod.
I talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Just understanding the body, where you are now, and maybe not trying to do things you were doing 5-6 years ago, but adapting to what you can do now. You can still be a creative player, but there's a few things that you may need to like take out of the playbook.
And, again, look what he did to Sidney Crosby on entry there, that move. He's like going like 5 miles per hour.
Crosby got dangled twice, by the way. Eklund had a nice dangle around Crosby on one of the goals too.
Graf stopped him too, the other way right before they scored.
Yeah,
Crosby was attacking and Graf sticked it away.
Yep.
By the way, Graf
again, growing confidence.
I've been talking about him a lot. I like him. I like him a lot. He's up and down the lineup, and he can play on Celebrini's line or any other line. Yeah. He's that Swiss Army type player, and I like his work ethic. He's smart.
Keegan, I'm going to ask Graf if he knows about the "look at this" Colin Graf meme, because
I'm sure he's found out about it.
He knows about the Filipovich video of him. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, this is funny too. Actually, a quick story, quick aside. In Pittsburgh, I saw somebody wearing a Colin Graf jersey at a burger place I was eating at before the game, and I tweeted about it. It turns out that it's Colin Graf's friends. Because I tweeted out elite ball knowledge being shown here, because if you're wearing a Colin Graf jersey, that's elite ball knowledge. Everyone's got a Celebrini jersey, everyone's got a Smith and Macklin. Those are the easy ones to have. But if you got Colin Graf, you know your shit. But
buddy.
It was just funny.
That's awesome.
Guy, like always in the right place. I love that Colin Graf.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah, I like it.
But in terms of, I guess, overall impressions of the road trip, though, I mean, yeah, I think what Randy said is interesting. And in terms of, maybe this team has got it. That's the last thing that I wrote after the Pittsburgh game, that maybe there is something special here. We in the media, we have to be skeptical. Like, I watched it in a kind of sort of a detached sort of way, because I was just like, wait, what's happening here? Because literally when it's 5-1, I'm talking to PR. And the way it works is, PR will send us a text, and who do you want to talk to post-game? And knowing that there was a snowstorm coming to Pittsburgh, it was like, okay, let's try to keep it quick. So let's talk to Askarov, because he's playing a little under the weather maybe, right? And he's doing his best there. We talked with Celebrini, because he just started a fight for his buddy. And that's it. And then we usually talk with 3 players. I was like, let's just talk to 2 players. Let's get you guys out of there. And talk with Warsawski, and that's it. And right after that text, they just start scoring and scoring and scoring. And I am trying to catch up just watching all that. But it is sort of a different kind of out of body in a sense, because you're just like, wait, what's happening? What's happening? It was a little bit like the 2019 Vegas game, where like I'm not writing anymore. I'm just sort of watching what's going on. And I can't. I'm not. You look at my game diary. There's nothing there because I just kind of can't believe it either. But one interesting thing that I want to add though about what is happening in San Jose, and if it does manifest itself into a playoff appearance. You have a guy in Ryan Reaves there. I don't want to keep just talking about him as a leader, because Sharks do have a lot of good leaders. But Ryan Reaves was there for something similar during the very first Vegas season. He got there a little bit late. He got there past the trade deadline. But, to have somebody there, too, that kind of understands, like, when you're in that kind of this moment, and it's not just like a heater you're on for like a week or whatever. It might be a heater that the Sharks are on to some degree for this season. To have somebody in terms of, hey, don't get too high, too low, like you guys said, and a guy like Ryan that's been a part of that, I think could be very valuable.
Yeah, that's the key right now, and I talked about it. Just keeping the guys. You celebrate that night, but it's that's all it is. It's a win. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's you. The next day. Or the next game, I should say, that's in the past. All it was 2 points, regardless if you won it in the fashion that you did, or it was a blowout win, or whatever. Like, you take the positives from it. I think some guys will have gained confidence during that game. Some guys will have learned something about something. So you take the positives and you carry it. But a win's just a win. And if I'm in there, I'm telling the guys, if there's over celebrating or whatever, I'm like, calm the fuck down here. Pump the brakes. it's game whatever 35 or whatever it is. We're barely hanging on to a playoff spot at this moment. There's 50 more games to go. Let's enjoy it, but you have to maintain your highs and your lows throughout the course of a long season, and that's where the veterans, I think, come into play, because the young guys don't really know. They've never gone through it before.
Speaking of the veterans too, I mean, can you, if you're Mike Greer, trade Mario Ferraro, trade Alex Wenberg if the Sharks keep this up? I mean, these are pending UFAs. From what I understand, I've heard that the Sharks defense, and I think it's been reported by other people, that their defense is on the block, basically. That includes Mario. Granted, I don't think they're trading them for just anything, but like John Klingberg is also a pending UFA too. But can you do that with where the Sharks are at right now? So I think that's going to be something that's going to come up. Not to just throw cold water on the proceedings, but that's still a real thing.
I think the goal is to win the Stanley Cup. It's not to qualify for this year's playoff run. I think you want to win the Cup. So if there is a deal out there that's going to make your team better in 2 years, then I think that's a deal you have to make, which could possibly mess up the opportunity to get in the playoffs this year. I think ideally as a GM, you have to look past this year and how are you going to get to where you want to get, which is winning the Stanley Cup. So if what you're getting back for a Mario or whoever you're going to trade is someone that's going to help you win 2 or 3 years from now, I think it's a move you can argue that you can make. Because getting into the playoffs this year, sure, would be great, unexpected. But if you lose certain players for nothing,
well, Dan, how does that compare against the value of getting playoff experience with these youngsters as well?
6-7.
How valuable is that to the growth? 6-7.
I've been a player. I've been a player. I've been on the media side. If I put on my GM hat for a minute, I would probably have boards in my office of 26-27 and 27-28 with my roster of 27-28. So I'm already looking ahead 2 years from now, and that's my goal. I'm looking at 27-28 more so than I am 25-26. So yes, you want to gain playoff experience. Could making a trade here or there possibly cost you the playoffs this year? Possibly, but am I putting myself in a better position next year to make the playoffs? And if my target date is the following year, then that's what I would do. And I will, my job on this podcast is to sometimes refer to my past experiences. When I got to Tampa, they were, I believe, the last place or the second last place. I was in Florida. They were the second last place in the league when I got to Florida. We made the playoffs the following year, lost in the first round of Jersey, and won the Cup the following year. So we went from 31st or whatever, how many teams there were in the league at that time, to making the playoffs 1 year and winning the Cup the next year. So as far as experience in the playoffs, you may only need one season. We only had one series. That was my only series of experience. And then I won the Cup the following year. So there is something to be said about it, but I still think that Mike Greer and company have a goal in mind, and that's the goal, that the trajectory, and that's the one I'm leaning towards versus making the playoffs this year, possibly losing, maybe making the playoffs. Okay, this is not. Randy said that he thinks they're going to make the playoffs. That's a very positive outlook, but I still think that the target for me is 2 years down the road. I think that's where they make. You got Macklin 3-4 years in. You got Smitty. You've got your goalie. You've got McMadoul, and some of these other guys are going to have it stepped up. That's when I think you make a really realistic run at the ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's going to be a hard decision. Like, I'll be on the record. I don't think this team is going to make the playoffs, but I say that though, but I can say in my experience, because I covered that Vegas team, that expansion Vegas team that nobody believed in at first, that they got to January and they had 20 wins and they were beating the best teams in the league, Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. I remember they did that in a homestand. I think maybe one exact homestand where I thought it was going to blow up in their face. They beat both those teams. And then I was like, wait a minute. There's something going on here. Now, I don't think this Sharks team is quite as complete as that Vegas team proved to be. But still, though, that there is something, though, going on here, right? In terms of just Macklin taking that ascension, and maybe Askarov being that guy that can win you games, and Nedeljkovic even too has played very well on the road trip too. And so I am not a full believer yet. I don't know if you guys are yet, like Randy is, but there are some ingredients here that are like, wait, we maybe shouldn't scoff at what Randy said, or there's something going on here.
I could say this from my perspective.
Yeah.
I didn't even expect to be having this conversation this year at this time.
No.
So,
well, no, yeah, you were out after the first game of the year.
I thought, I didn't think the Sharks were going to be this good. I mean, in training camp, I reported on this podcast, like, Celebrini's going to be unreal. Like, I saw it in training camp when he was out there in the rookie year. I was like, he's faster, he's better than everyone here. He's better than I thought he would be. But even that, I didn't expect to be resulting in what it was in the regular season, like we're seeing Macklin this year. And this team has surprised me positively. And so just the fact that Randy's even saying that, I mean, we're ahead of schedule. And I think these are good problems and good things to be asking. Like, should you jump Wenberg? And I think if anything, you hold greater value in these assets. So if anything, it might increase the return on them if we choose to let go of some of the Sharks players at the deadline, whether it's Ferraro or Wenberg or whoever the best opportunity arises. I think you built the stock value in them. I think the Sharks have come back to respectability, which was the goal that, was articulated and set by the team. I think, they are now respected. And if you don't respect this team, look what they just did to you. Come back like that. This team deserves to be respected, and that's the way they're playing. So I think the other thing is, obviously, you have the pillars of this team, Celebrini, Askarov particularly, but you're also seeing subtle development amongst everyone else, just like subtle growth with the whole team.
Sure.
I think, that's also really important in hockey is like Dickinson's been looking really good on this road trip. I thought these may have been some of the best 5 games he's played back-to-back all year. I thought Dickinson looked surprisingly really good, more solid. And one thing I wanted to mention on Dickinson as well, and this goes, again, back to the staff and the staff knowing when to scratch people and when to develop people and when to give them a little bit of a longer leash or a shorter leash. But with Dickinson, it doesn't feel, and Sheng, it's a question for you, but it doesn't feel as if, there's any pressure from the staff for him to produce offensively, which we know he's capable of doing. It seems like all their focus is like, hey, let's just focus on the defensive side of the game. Shore that up, reduce like high danger chances. And this is, again, a compliment to Dickinson. He doesn't seem like he feels pressure to produce offensively. He seems really dedicated and focused on his defensive side of the game. And I think staff knows that when the defensive side of the game clicks, he'll know better when to pinch and when to step up. And I think that's a great way to develop him. And that's just my observation of what I see. But Sheng, you're closer, on the ground to that. I don't know if that's something you've noticed.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that actually speaks to what Dan said, too, about looking ahead for 2 years from now. They're not looking to get kind of points from Sam Dickinson now and just, hey, play how you want, Sam, play how you did in London, and we'll just kind of work from there. Just kind of different approaches to development. Whereas approach with Sam is learn the defensive side at the NHL level. No power play. Get that side down. We're going to turn you into a 25-minute-a-night two-way defenseman that is going to help us win playoff games and not just be kind of a one-dimensional kind of player. And so that's, I think, with an eye, again, toward not winning this year so much and not getting a few more points out of Sam Dickinson by giving him PP1, PP2 time that maybe he's not quite ready for. But instead, trying to mold him into a two-way defenseman that can eat 25 minutes a night a couple years from now. So I absolutely agree that there doesn't seem to be a lot of pressure on him for that. Again, because they don't put him on the power play. And so yeah, I think that's a very kind of. I'm not sure exactly how Minnesota did it. I think this is not a perfect example, but like, Minnesota gave Aziz Bouillon before they traded him a lot of power play time, that sort of thing, right? I know a lot of Sharks fans wondered, like, how come you don't give Sam Dickinson that kind of thing? Totally different players, number one. Z was more ready for it, right?
Yeah, Bouillon was more of the power play guy rather than Dickinson. It could be, but Z was like, that was kind of his calling card for sure.
But I do think, though, Keegan, maybe you can speak to this, that there was a little more like, hey, just play how you play with Zeev. Whereas with Sam, it's a little more like, no, we want you. We think you can be. You're 6'4". You can skate, better than basically everyone in the league. So learn to play defense, and if you learn to play defense, then
you'll be
the offense will come.
Top four forever.
Yeah, I think you mentioned for me that's right on. He's a big guy. He's is it Lane Hudson, one in Montreal? What's his first name?
Yeah, Lane Hudson.
Lane. So
Lane.
So he's here's
three
a 5.
Hudsons,
He's a defenseman who's 5'7", 5'8". With that type of player, you almost you need to have him run the power play. You need to have him play offensively because he doesn't have the capability of out-muscling people in front of the net, being physical, being that big. Whereas with Dickinson, you're right. It's just he's a different player. And if you can turn him into a 24, 25-minute a night guy, maybe that's what you get out of him. Maybe he's not the high point D-man that he was in the OHL at the NHL level. Maybe, I'm going to use a defenseman on his team with Nick Leddy. Maybe he can be an offensive defenseman, but it's not like it's points every night running the power play. Maybe it's playing a solid two-way game, skating, being physical, where you're known as a two-way defenseman, when sometimes the projection was for him to be this high point producing guy. And it's so early. It is so early, so we can be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more of a two-way physical, because of his size, defenseman that can play a lot of minutes, chip in offensively, but also be responsible defensively. That's what I see so far. But again, it's a very short, small sample size.
Always been more excited about Dickinson's ceiling defensively than offensively. For what you mentioned, his size and skating combination is going to be something that's going to earn him all of that time, and coaches are going to want to play him way more. They're going to want to put him out in those situations rather than, unless it's like a 6-on-5 or power play, rather than Lane Hudson, they're going to want to put out Sam Dickinson. But it does mean that we still are missing that kind of guy in the future. You probably do need one more offensive defenseman in the future. Yeah, Klingberg's been doing great, but we need one more guy.
It takes a certain, and I'm not like you guys. I didn't watch his OHL career. I don't have a bunch of tape. I only have what I've seen so far, and it takes a special type of player to run a power play, to quarterback a power play, to play, your Hudson or your Cale Makar or your Quinn Hughes, and it's a specific type of game that it takes a specific set of tools, and we refer to offensive defensemen, i.e. Shea Weber is an offensive defenseman, and Dan Boyle was an offensive defenseman, but completely different games. I was a mobile player. I would pinch. I would straddle the blue line, spinoramas. Shea Weber had a gun from the blue line, physical, could fight. We're both offensive defensemen, but totally different players. And I think that's what we're seeing with Dickinson versus Hudson or whatever. Different players for sure.
Yeah, frankly, I think the Sharks have, this is my opinion. I know some fans may disagree because they see the elevated point totals that Sam had with London. I think a lot of that was just because he was bigger and faster than everybody in that league. I don't know if he has the same feel offensively that Aziz Bouillon or Quinn Hughes or that type of guy has. And so I think the Sharks are trying to set him up to not be Quinn Hughes, Erik Karlsson type. I don't know if that's what he does in NHL. I don't know if he has that kind of elite feel for offense that even Dan Boyle had too, right? I think that they're trying to set him up to be if you want to use another in-team comp, if he is Dmitry Orlov in his prime, you're thrilled if that's what happens in his career, or a Nick Leddy in his prime. I think that's what they're trying to set up Sam for, because I think they see that that's what they have more likely than a guy that's going to score you 80 points a night, or I'm sorry, a point per game as a defenseman. If Sam is that, and we're kind of shorting him a little bit, or the Sharks are shorting him a little bit, hey, more power to him. But like, I think that the Sharks have like the right view of Sam Dickinson.
Noah Hannafin's been the guy that I've always thought of when I think of Sam.
That's an excellent one, I think. Yeah, good call.
Guy that's like, he's drafted pretty high too. I think Hanifin was like 4th or 5th overall, something like that.
He was top 5 pick, yeah.
But very, very, integral to Vegas' team now, and been a good top 4 defenseman. Eats a ton of minutes.
Plenty of offense too, but just not PP1 though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the most important things in the playoffs is reducing high danger chances. If you get a good defenseman with size that can really keep down high danger chances, you have a very valuable defenseman. It's not just about points. And to your point, Keegan, he has the skating ability, the size, and the reach to be able to do that. And so I like that the Sharks seem to be focusing on that as the primary goal for him right now. And don't put any pressure on the kid to be offensive. So it's a good plan.
Let's talk about these injuries.
I think just to close on the road trip on the guys on it, I did want to mention I'm writing something right now that Alex Wennberg, his contributions to the comeback and just his underrated contributions all year, he has a hand in basically all the goals, and stuff that he didn't score a goal, right? He got 3 assists, but exactly. That's one of the big things, right?
Sure.
And so want to mention that. I think that's. We could talk about the other guys on the road trip, but I think that's one that stood out to me that I wanted to make sure we talked about. Colin Graff. We all love Colin Graff on this show. We are all Colin Graff supporters.
Huge fan.
Wennberg's been.
Nedeljkovic came up big for Askarov there. I do have questions about Nick Leddy, but that's a little. We'll talk about that maybe some other day. So I did not like how he performed against Pittsburgh. I think, particularly right. So I do, but though we all threw some dirt on John Klingberg's name, and he showed us this road trip that he's still got a little bit of the old magic. He just had to adjust his game a little bit. So maybe Leddy will do that. But okay, so let's move on to. Unless anyone else has anything else to say about the road trip before we talk about Smith
Kurashev. 5 more minutes, guys. Just so you know.
Okay,
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
Barking me like a fucking dog over here.
You get overtime pay.
You got to spend time with Randy Hahn, all right, Dan?
I got cupcakes coming my way.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Smith and Kurashev. So I believe let me double check that, but they were put on IR. Kurashev also got hurt in the Pittsburgh game, and I want to make sure that there's no further updates from anybody on Smith and Kurashev. I'm checking out on timeline and whatnot, and so we'll see if there's more to that. But okay.
At least a week, right? Because they're on IR.
Yeah,
so we know that much.
Yeah, it means at least a week. Yeah, but retroactive to the game that they were hurt. So not necessarily today, but a couple days ago. So anyway, who should they call up was our initial question, but obviously they have called up Chernyshov and Cardwell. One thing I wanted to say that I had thought about before is there was a lot of consternation when they called up. I think it was Ostapchuk for, what was it, Jeff Skinner, I think, when Jeff Skinner got hurt. But that made sense to me because if you counted at the time, who were the Sharks' kind of top 9 adjacent wingers, right? And at the time, they had Smith and Kurashev and Macklin and Gaudette, Graff and Toffoli, 6 of them. Right? Not counting Skinner. So you don't need to call up a top 9 kind of winger. But if you take out Smith and Kurashev, right now it's 5 of them. It's Macklin, Gaudette, Graff, Toffoli, and Skinner. I just mean adjacent. I'm not saying these guys, like Gaudette has played a lot of fourth line this year, but top 9 adjacent guys. So there's obviously an empty spot here. So I guess if you're a fan, you're like, hey, how come they didn't call up Chernyshov and Musty? Well, I think there's your answer because Macklin, Gaudette, Graff, Toffoli, and Skinner will probably play your top 9, and you have one spot for Chernyshov. So that's how I would start this. I think that they called up kind of the right guys. They called up one guy to help them score, kind of, roughly. And you have a guy like Cardwell who's going to be kind of an energy option.
Yep.
I'm so excited.
I think it's a great call up.
Well, I'm excited to see Chernyshov because he's been churning in the AHL. Ooh, pretty good.
Inform the least informed podcast member. He's a high draft pick. What's his?
Yeah, he was the first. He was the first pick of the second round the year we drafted Celebrini.
So 2 years
ago.
Like
regarded as like a top 15-20 pick, but he fell to 33. Yeah,
because of some sunburn.
Yeah.
What was the reason? What was the reason for his fall?
He was Russian, which is first problem. Not a problem, but it was always a Russian factor. And then he got a really bad sunburn.
He was going to come over or not.
He was sunburned?
He got a really bad sunburn.
Yeah. I have to get off. But tell me, what do you mean the sunburn? I don't know the story.
So he missed he missed basically like a pretty big showcase of Russian prospects, I think, because of a bad sunburn that he got, and then it like. I swear to God, this is real.
Because it was in Florida.
It was in Florida.
Yeah.
So he went out, got
right before the draft.
Russian ass burnt by the Florida sun. I'm in Florida now.
And so misses like a showcase of some kind.
And he missed the showcase. Yeah. But he's always had like a ton of skill, and he was playing between MHL and KHL in his draft year. So he played some against men, and then he came over to the OHL after his draft year and just absolutely destroyed it with Michael Misa. And then he's been doing really well in the AHL. So.
Okay. All right.
So I watched the CUDA game. I got back last Wednesday. I was super jet lagged, but I went to the CUDA game and I had my game notes, and I only watched. I was focusing on Lund, Musty, Chernyshov, which is a little hard because Musty and Chernyshov have been playing on the same line with Bstead, Caglioni, and Cardwell. And of all the players that I reviewed, and I talked to Sheng about it after the game, my notes on Chernyshov were like, he's the most ready, and Cardwell, like for the next stage.
Okay.
And what I had on Cardwell was solid all around development. He's like he's gotten better in every area of the game, just slightly, and he just looks complete. That's what I wrote. For Chernyshov, I said good backtracking, good passing, good positionally. And it was interesting to watch him on the same line with Musty because Musty seems to still be doing stuff that just won't work at the next level. Well, Chernyshov seems to be doing less of that and just playing a more complete game. Like I said, good positionally. He was coming back hard. He had the intensity. He wasn't, with his OHL highlights, and if you watch him there, he's doing a lot of really interesting stuff with Misa. It's really exciting to watch. That just doesn't work in the NHL because guys are going to close out those lanes, but he can expose those in the OHL. He's not doing that anymore. He seemed to be playing really responsibly from the game that I watched last week on Wednesday against the Gulls. So I think to your point, Keegan, I'm super excited to get some Chernyshov action this year. I did not expect that, and that's going to be fun.
Okay.
He's also creative. So if he plays with Macklin Celebrini, that creativity is going to be really fun.
Bring some suntan lotion. Bring some lotion. Some sunscreen.
By the way, Boyle, he's big too.
It's great.
He's big.
Big player.
Yeah, big. He's
a
like
big player too.
6'3".
Are we talking like how's the English? Is it like how's his English?
It's not very good.
So it's like
still a work in progress, but he is. And to speak to your point, Zubair, like when I run into scouts, he's the one guy that they keep talking to me about. I don't want to just make it a simple comparison with Musty, but Musty, I think, still has some overall game to grow. Whereas with Chernyshov, like he still has it too, but it's a more complete game at this point, like you mentioned. And so that's the one that they mentioned too. That there is, I don't know if he's NHL-ready specifically, like he's going to tear it up in the stretch. But of all the skill guys down there, Chernyshov, Lund, Musty, Houghton, of all the wingers you could have called up, that you also think will help you offensively, that it is pretty clear to the scouting community, too, that I think that Chernyshov is the one that is closest. Maybe not quite there, but closest.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm surprised they didn't call up Bstead, but I think it's just the positional thing. Like they didn't need a center.
Yeah.
Bstead's
I think they're happy
with
their centers now.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
Eventually
I got to get off.
You'll get it.
Until next time.
Dan, can I ask you one question, Dan?
Yes.
Because we are going to have a defensive conversation in a little bit about number one defenseman. What I wanted to ask you, Dan, is do you think for this Sharks team, doesn't matter what type of number one defenseman that they get, a more offensive guy like a Quinn Hughes, a more combo guy like a Pietrangelo in his prime, or, it doesn't matter. You just need a guy that can eat up 27 minutes a night and have a positive impact. Does that kind of make it, difference to you?
What's the question?
Does the type matter for this team specifically?
I think, I just mentioned a Shea Weber or a Quinn Hughes. Right. Quinn Hughes, I think you want somebody that's going to eat a lot of minutes.
Okay.
Only based on what I like. I like a guy that can take the puck out of his own zone, quarterback power play, eat up some minutes, calm things down when things are getting crazy. Have a little, what's the word you've used in the past, Zubair, before? Have a little swagger, calms everyone down. I don't know where you find a guy like that, whether it's through the draft or through a trade, but I think that would be a pretty good addition. But somebody that's going to eat a lot of minutes, allow other players to play their role, where everyone kind of fits into that spot. So I don't know what that player looks like. Does he look more like a Pietrangelo, like you mentioned, or a Quinn Hughes? Yeah. I don't really know. I think they're two very good players you're not going to find easily. So, but no, I agree. I think we're talking about the 2 years from now. By then, I think there needs to be somebody in place that's going to be that true number one defenseman. Not to say that these guys can't do it right now because they're doing it by committee and everyone's playing really well, playing hard, but I think in order to win a Stanley Cup, you have to have a good starting. You have to have a good goalie. You have to have a pretty top-notch number one guy, among many other things. But we'll see. I think, like I said, I still think that their window, I think, got a little sooner. I still think I thought we were 3 years away, but I think 2 is now starting to be realistic. So. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Until next time.
See you, Dan.
Ciao.
See you, bud. So I gotta hop off as well, but
he's running.
I gotta run. But you guys have sort of heard, I guess the question is, how do the Sharks acquire number one defenseman? Just
do you have any
my 2 cents.
Before we get on, because
just two. I think that, like, when you look at a Quinn Hughes, Cal McCarr, not every team in the league has one of those. I think that's how rare they are, and as we've seen, you don't need to have one of them to win. And I think there's multiple ways to win championships, and
sure.
And so I think the reality, my take on that is you don't need that. If you can have really good depth, and Florida has been the perfect example of that. With Forsling and Ekblad, and you just have a bunch of solid defensemen through your lineup, a bunch of number 2s and number 3s essentially, and then Ekblad like a really good large defenseman that has an offensive upside, but like you've said about Dickinson, he doesn't need to be an 80-point offensive defenseman. So I think that it's important to look at what you have. We talked about it was Polkamp. I believe that if you have a Polkamp and you have a Dickinson and you have a Shakir, you're starting to build and look more like that kind of construct. And I think that's okay. I think you can win with that very effectively with players that can score in the right moments, but are not going to put up even, 50 points. They could be under that and still be effective as a team as long as they can break the puck out and defend. But so that's one part. And to this question of how do the Sharks acquire number one defenseman, if you're looking at one of those like unicorns, like a Schaefer or who's going to be that, or you want to acquire something like that, I think you're going to have to pay the big bucks. I think Quinn Hughes proved that. I think you're going to have to give up a Musty. You're going to have to give up some of these wingers that we're developing. And I think that's going to be the price to pay. A draft pick, a couple of our first round picks, like a Musty or something like that. And I think that's what it's going to take.
I think.
Yeah,
well,
for
of
sure.
course, you're going to have to give up a couple of sort of blue chip prospects almost.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to cost. It's going to cost a lot. Like Minnesota paid a lot
Yes, they
for,
did.
For Quinn
I think
Hughes.
they did.
And I think
a lot of Vancouver fans are unhappy, but I think that they got a lot for a guy that was going to leave. Yeah,
was going to leave. That was a great take home, and
it's honestly like I put it on Twitter as like it was essentially Dickinson, Eklund, Musty plus a first. Essentially, is what they gave up.
Yeah,
almost
they got
almost
first.
to a T, basically.
Yeah,
which is really
exactly.
That's a shit ton. Like Minnesota could do it, but we can't do that yet. So.
No, at this stage we cannot.
The Sharks could have done
at this stage.
But
it'd be pointless, right? Like,
well, the devil's advocate there is a guy like Quinn Hughes is so rarely available that you take the chance. I agree with you guys. I wrote a whole story about it, so I'm not trying to renege on what I said, but like I think that is a fair argument. Like that a guy like Quinn Hughes, if Mike had done something like that, I think it would have been defensible because a guy like Quinn Hughes. There's like a half dozen guys like that in the league.
Only if it came with an extension. If it doesn't come with an extension, it never could be.
No, I agree with you. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that the advocate argument is just that guy is so good and he's young enough.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely agree. And so again, like that would be my take, my point. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts when you guys are done. But that would be my 2 cents. Is you don't need a clear number one. You can win with some really great defensemen spread out.
I agree. We'll
and
talk
number
about that
two,
in a little bit.
It's going to cost a lot.
It would cost a lot.
All right, boys. I'll see you.
See you, Zubair. Good to be back.
Guys.
Yeah, I agree in some ways. I do think the power play is where we're gonna really need to find somebody. Where we can. I don't like Klingberg's doing fine and all that, and Orlov's been doing well, but they're not like the long-term solution. I think the hallmark of the future power play is going to be Celebrini and Smith, and you need that guy that's going to really gel with those two to make that like this is your Joe Thornton, Dan Boyle, Patrick Marleau power play, right? Like, I think they're going to be on the lookout for it. Is it Cagnoni in the future? I don't know, but it's got to be somebody. Don't do the 6-7 again. Don't do it. I don't even think that's what that means. We're doing it wrong because we're so old.
I know. That's what's good about me is we're going to destroy the trend by how we're doing it wrong.
I know. If we do it enough, they'll stop doing it. Yeah, because they're like these cringe motherfuckers.
I didn't want to jump back really fast though on the winger thing. That one thought I did have is that they could still, but they won't. I guess at this rate is they could have just kept Michael Misa and put him on the wing. That was mentioned, right? And I did want to add that from what I understand, Michael Misa is not injured. That is not why he is not at Canada's camp right now. Just simply finish out his conditioning loan. So I did want to clear that up. That was corrected for me a couple of days ago. So I just wanted to mention that. But so that's an option. I just do want to bring that an option. If not now, if they do want to let him go to Canada. Now, when he comes back, that might be a thought if Smith and Kurashev's injuries are long term, and that could be a thought if Michael has you've seen some growth. Granted, it'll be at WJC, so different kind of competition, but you can still see a guy's quickness and strength though, and so that might be a thought. I mean, in fact, I think that there was nothing keeping them from keeping Misa up for the next couple of games, playing him the next couple of games at wing or at center, and then send him to Canada for World Juniors too. So that's I don't think there's anything that was stopping them from doing that. But clearly, though, they want to see a Chernyshov, and Chernyshov has kind of risen slightly above, I think, the rest of that forward class.
If you remain or if you keep his 2 games open, like the 8th and 9th game, you can do it after World Juniors when you're like, is he going to stick or not? So you can play him in the NHL right after World Juniors. And if he doesn't stick, or he's just not really, like he could have an excellent World Juniors, come in, play those 2 games, and then he never looks back and he's on the Sharks. Or he plays those 2 games, looks okay, and they send him back to Juniors. I think that's the plan.
I do need to double check though, because I believe that Misa would have to go back to the OHL before they think they have a trade deadline in early January. So that I think it runs closely to World Juniors. I think on purpose. I think you might have mentioned that Saginaw's not a great team this year. But is that you that said, or I thought someone said that Saginaw's not a great team this year? But
I honestly do not know. I haven't looked at their.
One thing I did want to mention, though, and this was the Shane Wright kind of story that I did, right? That if the team that you're sitting back to isn't great, like there's a chance that you probably can trade a guy like Michael Misa at the OHL trade deadline. I mean, that's game changing for a team, and so you're gonna get a pretty good package for him. Just like Shane Wright, I think moved from
Kingston.
I think he went to Oshawa, Kingston to Oshawa. Is that right?
I think it was Oshawa. But...
something like that. And so I'm sure that would be possible if the OHL knew that Michael Misa was returning there, and if Saginaw isn't the right place for him. So yeah, so I think that part don't worry about too much. But anyway, though, anything else about the Smith Kurashev injuries, Chernyshov, Cardwell, and let's get into our defensive talk.
Yeah, I really hope Smith's not out long term. I really want to emphasize that is a big part of this too. If we're trying to see if this is a playoff team, Smith's going to need to be healthy.
Yeah.
So it can always look scarier real time than it is in like after the game. Could be fine, but that's what I worry is something like a long-term injury for him. But anyway, I think it's interesting that they called up Chernyshov. I think he was finding his groove there, and he's had these moments where he's just been so dynamic and so good that kind of like LeBanc and Meyer in their AHL times. Like there was times when they were like so good that they had to call them up, and that was kind of what Chernyshov was doing too. Not every game.
He was kind of bordering that for that youth. Yeah.
There's flashes.
He was
there
like too good for the league. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Whereas
flashes
you wouldn't
there.
say that about anybody else, right? That he was like too good for the
not yet.
league.
No.
Okay.
I think Beasted's on his way to getting a call up into playing, but it's just a matter of positioning and everything. But he's definitely, I would say, if they get a center injury, that he's probably coming up. Just
nice
based
to hear.
on. Yeah, no, I mean he's playing well, and also it's just kind of his time in the development pipeline to really see what he does at the NHL, what he can be, because it's like it's always been a project and always been a what are you going to be at the next level kind of player, and eventually you won't know until he's here and tries to make it every night. So I'm interested to see what Chernyshov's speed looks like in the NHL, because I've dogged on him for speed in the past, and not like like his like straight line speed, his like full speed is good. Is just like the short acceleration, those quick bursts that I really am curious to see what it's going to look like in the NHL. He's probably going to be buzzing in his first game, so it'll look fine. But if he gets a longer kind of runway, I wonder what about the speed. We'll see. Hopefully he's great.
Curious how they let him adjust too. I wonder if they just put him with Celebrini first off, just see, hey, we'll give you the top shot first, and that guy with plenty of speed. Though it is worth noting though that those were Macklin's two line mates that just went down. So there's going to be two spots right next to Macklin right there that are open. So that'll be interesting to see how they fill it at morning skate tomorrow on Tuesday. But okay, so let's move on to kind of the main topic, and we've been dancing around this, and want to thank, we had a couple of readers, Dylan being one of them, Alex being another, that said, hey, we want you guys to talk about. This is the talk of like Sharks Reddit or Sharks, and I was slow to get on it, other things to talk about and whatnot. But okay, so how are the Sharks going to acquire a number one defenseman? So let's try to get into it. And a number one just got traded, obviously, in Quinn Hughes. But I guess before we start the topic, I'll start it with and Zubair kind of alluded to it, that there are very different ways to construct the Stanley Cup winning defense. In Florida, the last couple of years, you had maybe a little more by committee, right? Seth Jones, Aaron Ekblad, Gustav Forsling, all acquired in very, very different ways. Jones in a trade, Ekblad, they drafted him high. Forsling was off of waivers, and none of these guys would be considered like your Quinn Hughes type, like a true blue number one defenseman, I think. Vegas, a couple years before that, Pietrangelo was a UFA, and he was still a number one defenseman, even if he wasn't like the highest end guy. He's more of a two-way kind of guy, too. He's not going to score a point per game, but definition of a number one defenseman, yes, I think that was Pietrangelo with Vegas a couple years ago. Makar, the year before that, no questions asked, number one defenseman. Hedman, same thing with Tampa before that. two-way guy a little more, but still a true number one defenseman. Pietrangelo with St. Louis. Makar, Hedman, and Pietrangelo are all very, very high picks. St. Louis, Pietrangelo, also number one defenseman in his prime, obviously. Okay, so here's where it gets a little interesting here. If you go back a little further, Washington, John Carlson, late first-round pick, so not necessarily top 5. Pittsburgh, Chris Letang, who notably did not play in the 2017 playoffs, by the way. They were able to win the Stanley Cup without him, but nonetheless, so he was their number one guy, and they drafted him in the 3rd round. Duncan Keith before that was Chicago, drafted him in the 2nd round, and obviously the Kings, Drew Doughty. Another top 5 pick. So okay, so that's sort of just establishing some of the groundwork of what we're talking about. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's the almost like the 3 examples there, right? Where you've got like by committee, say Florida, maybe that Vegas squad also by committee. Petrangelo's good, yeah. And then you've got your superstars: Makar, Hedman, Keith, Doughty. They're all superstars, Hall of Fame guys. And then like you've got your more offensive leaning guys like Carlson and Letang. As your number ones there, that like Letang is also going to be a Hall of Famer, and I don't know if John Carlson will be, but there's kind of like by committee more of an offensive leaning number one or a superstar, so you really could do it any kind of way. The problem is that we are yet to really commit to any one of those, right? We have maybe the makings of a by committee structure with Dickinson and Mukabadulin if he turns it around and pans out, and then guys that we acquire, you can get a good committee going through free agency and trade, but the other ones like there's no superstar, and then the power play number that might not be in the pipeline yet either. So I think
if one of Mukabadulin, of a Cagnoni, of a Polkamp, and now we're kind of reaching down the line, but like if any one of those, along with a Sam Dickinson, become a top 4 playoff caliber defense, then you start to have that committee, right? You don't have a number one there probably, but you need one of those guys to hit. Not all of them will not hit. 2 or 3 is not likely, but if you get one of them to hit, then that's a win.
We were always banking on the top of this draft to have a lot of good defenders, and it does have good defenders, but the Sharks may not be in a position. But the Sharks are making the playoffs this year. Making the playoffs this year. They may not be in a position to grab one of these defenders. But who knows? Like, things change. It's just I do think that just the draft strategy in general for the defense has been a little, I don't know. Interesting is the right way to put it. Like, just they picked like Cagnoni's is an anomaly in this respect, but because he was kind of a high floor or high ceiling, low floor guy, but they picked a lot of safe bets on defense. So or a lot of like Hao Shi-Wang, which is like very far off, long-term projects. They did the same thing with Michael Fisher, who was considered a really long-term project, not clearly at the same level of project. Like Wong's got a higher ceiling for sure. But then the rest of the guys they picked have been kind of more safe options. I mean, they're like 5th, 4th, 6th rounders, so Colton Roberts and Miskey and all that. And then, like their offensive guys have been like Polkamp, Havilland, who Polkamp has been doing awesome this year, and I really am excited for his future as a pro hockey player. I think he's going to have a career in the NHL. Just, I don't know, like we're just missing that. Like, I don't know if it could have been done somewhere with like the Musty or Chernyshov picks or what have you, but we're missing that level of defense.
Havilland pick and drafting Lane Hudson.
Or just go back in time, draft Lane
go
Hudson.
back in time on that, right?
But even and like if we had gotten Bouillon instead of Dickinson right now, I don't think I would feel that much better. Like Bouillon's been good on the power play. Almost specifically, he's been good on the power play. When I've watched him, he struggled a bit at evens, and I think that's going to be a while before he is a like true blue first liner in all situations. He's going to play at the power play. Just got put on immediately power play in Vancouver as soon as he got traded. So he's going to play power play. And maybe I would feel better about that if we had that kind of guy, but I don't know. I think we would still be missing something on defense. So.
Yeah. I did want to say that the way that I think, just for you guys listening, we're going to talk about the draft, going through the draft to find this number one defenseman. Yeah. We'll also talk about trade or free agency, kind of teams that might be vulnerable, who have number one defenseman now. We'll look at the UFAs this summer. It's a little bit dry there. But specifically with the draft or the 2-year point, though, that once again, we talk about Sam Dickinson. He's your most likely candidate on the Sharks to end up being a top pairing guy, but I don't know if he's regarded as a number one guy, though. Right now, I think if he becomes a number two guy, we talked about Dmitry Orlov in his prime or somebody like that, I think you're pretty happy with that. But, though, Celebrini's ascension, a big part of it, and the Sharks being, whether they make the playoffs or they're just a little bit short, whoever you draft in the 2026 draft will probably be too slow developing to kind of line up with if Macklin is like the guy now, which he may well be for the next decade or so. You can't draft a guy and wait like Verhoff and wait 2-3 years for him. You need a guy that's going to be pretty much there next year or a year after that. And the only guy that's been like that defensively, at least in the last quite a while, maybe Schaefer. Right, and the Sharks obviously missed out on Schaefer. So I think that looking at the 2026 draft too hard now, unless there's a guy that can step in next year. I mean, Verhoff might be the closest, I guess, of anybody to. Yeah,
they might because he's been playing in college. He might come out and play for a team, depending on who he gets drafted by. Right, like it all really depends what the space is looking like, and he looks like he could try to step in and do okay. There's just, I don't think it's going to be like a Schaefer-esque experience, right? More of a Dickinson experience than anything else.
Just the timing, though, matters a lot, is I guess my point with Macklin. And so Macklin, I think by himself, has dragged the Sharks timeline forward, like Dan Boyle mentioned, a year forward or so. So I guess my overall point is bemoaning the 2026 draft may be a little pointless because unless you get a guy that can help you like within a year or maybe 2 years, like Cale McCart, I think did for the Avalanche, where he went back to college for a year and just tore it up and then came out, that it's not that helpful, really. If you got that helps you in 3-4 years, the Sharks may be ahead of that timeline right now. So that's kind of the interesting part of that for me. So anyway,
what I like about it though is if we do explore that, where we're going to keep building through the draft, but moving forward we might be more in like that trade realm. Is that as long as you don't move these big pieces and you just start moving futures and prospects and such, I don't think you're really jumping the gun on the rebuild. I think you're just accelerating it in a way, because certain teams will be like, oh, we're good now, we need to accelerate the rebuild, go out and trade for Ryan O'Reilly and Evander Kane, and not to shit on the Sabres, but like that's the thing you worry about, where I don't have any worries. Like, it's going to be fine. If we go and get better players and make our roster better, Celebrini and Askarov and Smith, they're going to make this team. So like make the team a playoff team rather than just they're going to be a contender in the future because of the way that Celebrini is. So I'm not worried about jumping it and getting and giving up some players for the right defenseman. I do think that Dickinson, Eklund, Musty in a first, I do think that's too much.
Let's skip ahead to that. We'll talk about trade and free agency to acquire number one defenseman. Should they have made that move on Quinn Hughes? Once again, Quinn Hughes, the trade was Yves Bouillon. It was Liam Ogren, Marco Rossi, and a 2026 first. Unprotected, but Minnesota being a good team, that's probably going to end up in like the 20s or something like that.
Yeah, Here's how close that trade is. Although it would be Edmonton's first and not ours. Although Edmonton's like in the same spot as the Sharks.
It's top 12 protected, so it still could be a better pick than Minnesota's actually.
Rossi was like I think a top 10 pick the year before Eklund. So like pretty comparable players.
Similar.
Exactly.
The center winger thing's a big deal though because they didn't really clearly want a center. That was very clearly stated by or
so
just
maybe
rumors.
Rossi has a touch more value, but also at the same time maybe Eklund is a little bit more consistent of a player. So then that's how close that was. The Ogren, who's like in the 20s pick, that's pretty much exactly where Musty was picked as well. Then Dickinson and Bouillon obviously are like 1 or 2 picks away from each other, 1 pick away from each other. Yeah,
one pick away.
That's literally what we would have had to give up, plus a first rounder. I don't think there's the depth on this team. Like it still is like gonna eat Minnesota's center depth. I still don't know what they're gonna do at center, but it still ate away at them to have to do that. And for us, it would be a good for the future if we got to do an extension, like Zubair said. But for now, it's like you're kind of harvesting a ton of things from this team that is not fully formed yet. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a huge gamble by Minnesota, but Minnesota you can at least argue or you can see that maybe they were 1 player away, and so 1 player away from winning a Stanley Cup. The Sharks, no matter what they do this year, if they make the playoffs or not, I don't think anyone thinks that they're 1 player away from winning the Stanley Cup quite yet. They don't have. You look at Minnesota versus San Jose. Okay, yeah, Celebrini versus Kaprizov. I mean, you might actually give Celebrini the edge. Wallstedt versus Askarov, not that dissimilar. Okay, great. But if you look at the depth, though, that's where you see Minnesota just being far deeper than the Sharks. I mean, yeah, they traded Rossi away, but you still got Eriksson Ek, one of the premier two-way centermen in the league. You got Matt Boldy. The Sharks don't have anybody quite like that. You have Spurgeon. You have a deeper blue line, Middleton
as well.
Yeah, maybe not a great blue line, but a deeper blue line for sure.
I think it's a good one. They got Faber, Middleton, Spurgeon,
Faber. I forgot. Faber, right? Yeah, right. No, you're absolutely right. So it's not even a comparison. Like the Sharks, if you make that move for Quinn Hughes, if he doesn't come back, then you've basically traded the farm away for a guy that you feel good if he wins you 1 round. Like you feel thrilled about that with this Sharks team. Whereas Minnesota, they're gambling big. If you win 1 round with Quinn Hughes, you traded all that, and he leaves, then you're hurting. But you at least understand why they did it because this is a move to win all 4 rounds.
They tried.
Right?
Garen will probably lose his job, but he's trying.
Yes.
He will
He's close
trying.
enough that the argument can be you can convince yourself that they're a player away. I'm not saying that they are.
And honestly, like Minnesota's been they call it Minnesota for a reason, right? They've been mid for 20 years. Like this is the time when Bill Guerin said, "Fuck it, we're gonna try." And,
they always have too. I'm gonna give them some credit though. I mean, they signed Parise and Suter years ago to those crazy contracts. Not crazy, but like huge contracts, right? So consistently, they have kind of made these swings, and it didn't work out quite with those guys. But they've been close enough, though, where, again, you can argue it because you got Kaprizov, you have Wallstedt now, and Gustafsson, good goaltending pair. You have, fairly deep forward group and a fairly deep defensive group that can maybe forward center group, weaker, but maybe can withstand losing Rossi.
The importance of drafting again. Edmonton looking for a goalie when Wallstedt was there, who now had didn't he have the most shutouts by a rookie in the shortest amount of time or something in NHL history? And Edmonton could have drafted him, and here they are trying to get rid of Stuart Center and trying Tristan Jarry. It's like, this is the importance of drafting. This is when you should have grabbed your Lane Hudson. This is when you should have grabbed your Wallstedts. This is when you should have grabbed your... Anyway. I'm just rambling.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair for every team, though. But so anyway, so I agree. I mean, I was playing devil's advocate earlier about Quinn Hughes because he is a special talent. As the Sharks had made such a move, I would say that even without an extension, you can sell me on it because Quinn Hughes is that special, and he is exactly what the Sharks need. I mean, they need a minute-munching guy that just makes a difference, 27, 25 minutes a night. Ironically, and I spoke with Erik Karlsson a week ago. The interview is up on San Jose Hockey Now. Erik Karlsson is exactly what this team needs right now. He's the right timeline.
Well,
you know,
a 26-year-old Erik Karlsson, right?
No. Actually, right now, exactly for what this team needs. That's actually what they try to sign John Klingberg. They need kind of a placeholder guy but is still really, really good. And Klingberg, we kind of finally saw on the road trip. He's not going to keep up this kind of standard of production, but we saw the reason why they took a gamble on John Klingberg. Karlsson is I think a little younger, but anyway, Karlsson's game is a little more intact and consistent than Klingberg's, and so he's ironically would be perfect for this team because
that's
the
he's
only got like
Mike
a year left.
Trade. Get both Dickinson and the extra whatever you got for Granlund. And then you just get him back, and then boom.
Eric's a free agent in a couple years, I think. So maybe check in on him. But all right, so that leads me to teams that are vulnerable. Maybe they have arguable number one defensemen, and so something to look forward to for the Sharks, be it UFA or trade. But as we've established with Quinn Hughes, that chances are these are going to be very, very expensive trades. So you're not going to get away with, you're not going to, I mean, honestly, the Erik Karlsson trade, Hassel regrets it. Everyone shits on it now. But when the Sharks made that trade, look at all the stories. Everyone thought the Sharks stole Erik Karlsson that year. I don't know if you're going to get a trade like that. The Quinn Hughes trade kind of tells you that it may be very, very expensive. So anyway, though, Boston, I mentioned teams that, when I say vulnerable, I mention teams that, I'm mentioning teams that I think may not be very good in a couple of years. They just, their parts don't quite seem to match, even if they are good this year like Boston is so far. But I don't know if I see a long-term path for Boston. Maybe they have it. They do have like a top forward in Pastrnak, a top defenseman in McAvoy, and a number one goalie. So they have some of the foundation of it. But I don't know if their drafting around those guys has been good enough. But anyway, Charlie McAvoy, 2030 UFA. Obviously, the golden goose of all this, Rasmus Dahlin with Buffalo, 2032 UFA, just 25. Also, too, the Sabres today, they just, Keegan is now their GM, I guess. I just saw that, and so that can kind of change. Yeah, that just happened. I don't know where Kevin Adams goes in this. I'm going to ask Dan Boyle to get the hookup from Kevin Adams here to get the information on that. But anyway, though, so Keegan has taken over in Buffalo.
And Kecklinen's done some crazy things in the past too.
Yeah, maybe one of them is trading Rasmus Dahlin for the Sharks to the Sharks.
I think
with any luck, right?
I think it's more likely that they try and acquire a bunch of shit.
More likely, right? More likely. Yeah, they have fired GM Kevin. Yeah, so they fired him, and Yarmo is now the GM there. So. Columbus, Zach Werenski. This one may be a Quinn Hughes-like situation. He's a 2028 UFA, so coming up on it. Adam Fox, 2029 UFA with the Rangers, right? We don't know how good the Rangers are going to be, right, in a year or two. And this one is just a this year thing because they've struggled this year. And also, too, he's older, too. Josh Morrissey he's the only one here who's 30 at this point. He's a 2028 UFA. He's on a sweetheart contract, and so he's going to cost a lot. But Winnipeg, though, has struggled coming out of the gate, and so that's why I put them in there. These are the kind of things you're looking for, teams that obviously Vancouver with Quinn Hughes was an example of this, of a kind of a vulnerable team that would be willing to trade a true number one guy. And I actually don't know if all these guys would be considered. I mean, Dahlin for sure is a number one guy. Werenski is so good offensively that he's there. I got some pushback on Fox being a true number one guy. He's been pretty productive this year. And McAvoy is more of a two-way guy in the Pietrangelo kind of sense. Boston, I think he's a Boston guy, so it sounds like right up. I know he went to school there, so right up the alley for my career. But anyway, those are some of the examples there. So I don't know if you have any thoughts of any of those guys.
Yeah, I really like. I don't think McAvoy's going to go anywhere. Just I feel like Boston's going to keep trying to do the Boston thing of we're not going to rebuild and we're going to keep trying, especially because they're playing better this year. Even though the East is kind of a bloodbath in terms of... He
is a New Yorker, but he went to BU, so automatic Shark.
Automatic Shark. I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't, and they're just going to keep trying to sign people or do whatever to make themselves competitive. Dahlin, I really don't see it.
You don't know, right? Buffalo's a wild card. You don't see it, but Buffalo's a wild card.
And it would cost you as much as Hughes to get Dahlin.
More than Hughes, maybe.
More.
Because Dahlin signed, right? I mean, look at what Hughes got with like a year and a half left on his contract, and no assurances that he's going to re-sign. Plus, his brothers are in New Jersey. Dahlin doesn't have that kind of issue, and he signed till 2032, so he's going to cost.
Ridiculous
I suggested this for Quinn Hughes. Like, if Quinn Hughes was signed, like he would extend with the Sharks. He's worth Sam Dickinson and Michael Misa. Like, don't get me wrong. That was like the Godfather offer. Like, if you just want to blow every offer off the table, then maybe that does it. Maybe not, because Vancouver did seem to want more established players. But you're not going to get a better talent offer than Sam Dickinson and Michael Misa, I think. Or you may not. That's pretty up there. And so that's the kind of thing that you have to think about for Dahlin, because they're not, like for a guy who's locked in for Dahlin, they're going to want more than Quinn Hughes. And so if you can stomach a trade like that, which, I mean, they were trying to capture the Macklin's kind of window, and Dahlin's 25, so he's younger than all these guys too.
Oh, it would be so good.
Right?
I doubt it happens. Like, I think the Buffalo fans would burn the city down. They're like
another. After every rebuild, and the city's still standing. All right.
I don't know, man.
Also, too, when it snows so much, it's hard to burn the whole city down.
True.
So.
It's true. It's too cold. Werenski's super cool. I think Werenski would be a good fit for this team, because he's got a lot of, like, he puts that Columbus team on his back for the last 2-3 years, and it's been the Werenski show. And he's not that old. He's like, what, 28 maybe?
He's in his 20s still.
So like, and yes, you'd have to give up stuff to get him, but trade for him now.
Similar package.
Well, so I think that's more possible, especially if Columbus. Yeah, he's 28. If Columbus is trying to move on to another rebuild, but it's tough for Columbus. And then guys,
he signals he's leaving, right? That's the thing about his UFA coming, like 2028. That he may signal, hey, I want out. So
Fox would be cool. I honestly think those two, Fox and Werenski, both of those teams, if they're not turning it around in the next couple of years, I think that is a beautiful plan. But I don't know how you get either one of those guys. They both have no movement clauses, so the Sharks have to show a lot of these guys too that they're serious, right? Like, these big time players, to have them waived to come here. Quinn obviously waived to Minnesota because I think he was just unhappy, but none of these guys are like saying I'm unhappy.
Quinn had any no trade at this point,
I feel
so
like
Quinn
he
doesn't
did.
have that. Did he?
No?
I don't know. I don't think he did.
You
can double check, but I don't
wrong.
believe that he did at this point. I thought they could trade him to anybody.
I just know
at this point. He will have a no trade on his next deal for sure.
You might have been right about that. Let me make sure. Yeah. Wow, he didn't. You were correct. Nowadays, like, everybody has a no trade, no move. I was like,
you
assume
somebody that good,
but he didn't.
Would have it, but the Sharks, may need to do that free agent signing this summer just to show they're serious kind of signing. Like, no more of the no offense, the kind of the bridge guys, the placeholder guys. I mean, you still need to sign those, but like, they need to have like that splashy signing, like, we are fucking serious this summer kind of signing.
Yeah,
they may need to do that. Really, yeah.
Have we looked at the UFAs? Rasmus Anderson?
I did take a look at that. So Rasmus Anderson, if you look at it, he's the one that stands out, but because he is the only guy that I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but he's the only one that I saw would be like a top pairing, top four for sure. He's having, I think, looks like a decent season with Calgary. And so that means, though, that competition for him will be heavy, probably. And so it may be a stupid contract. But, though, he's the closest. I think he's 29, too. So his age is not off. And he's not a true number one by any stretch of the imagination. But he's the closest thing to a top pairing-ish kind of guy that will raise, the bar for your team, like next year for sure. If Orlov still stays, strong, and whoever you keep somebody, be it a Klingberg or a Ferraro or somebody like that to help kind of, again, keep with the competitiveness of this team. So it's pretty slim pickings. I don't know if you want to take a quick look at the UFA pool on Puckpedia, see if you see anybody else, but.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. You got one Mario Ferraro.
One more that they can resign, yeah.
You got Trouba and Carlson, a bunch of older guys there that are going to get okay deals. Connor Murphy's an older guy as well, going to get an okay deal. Brent Burns is going to play till he's 55. Timothy Liljegren, honestly, this is not that good UFA D class right now. So
no, it's not. Again, so that actually makes Anderson more valuable. But I would say though that this might be the summer to go for it though, as opposed to last summer we had the Ekblad types, right? Ekblad I think signed before they even hit the market, but I didn't think it was the time for it. I don't think it's the time for Quinn Hughes, that kind of splash, but this kind of splash I think it might be the time for, because again Macklin is dragging the timeline forward. Also, give Askarov credit.
They need to grab.
Also, too, Eklund and Smith and Graf, too, give him credit, too. So
I would say with this new changeover in Buffalo, go get Bowen Byram finally.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that, yeah.
He's on a 6.2.
Let's move on to that then, yeah.
$6.2 million contract for 2 years. He's got 13 points in 32 games this year, which is not amazing, playing 21 minutes a night, but everybody has seen the skill with Byram for years. It's just been consistency and using the most of his opportunity, I think. And the blue line is not crowded in Buffalo, but it's just kind of confusing in Buffalo.
Yeah,
it's like, Dahlin and then Byram, Samuelson, and Owen Power, kind of your top 4 guys. And I don't know if they signed him to that small extension, but there was so many rumors about him moving that I wonder if he is available.
Yeah, you wonder who Kekalainen likes because I would think that that's where he's going to start to take away from the team, because it looks like there's a lot of depth there, but they're not winning, so something's not quite clicking there. So you change kind of personnel there. Probably Dahlin, it would be the last guy to go, like you suggest. But the other guys there, if you like a power more, or if you think Samuelson is decent, then that might be where you look at. That's the last place I want to look at, actually. And this is going back to the Florida example and acquiring devalued assets. A-Law, how they acquired Seth Jones last year. Obviously, Forsling being off of waivers, that's a devalued asset too, but I don't think you can replicate. It's hard to replicate finding a top pairing defenseman off of waivers. That doesn't happen usually. That's just pure luck if that happens. But not pure luck, but just not a likely thing. So we've talked about the draft, right? That's going to be tough for the Sharks, especially if as well as they're playing this year, but also too, whoever they draft this year, if they do draft a defenseman, may not quite be ready, within a couple of years. Trade or free agency, we talked about that too. So the UFA is a very tough class this year. So this last example I think this is going to be a very important area for the Sharks to look. So, okay, maybe it wasn't Seth Jones last year, but Byram is a good example of a guy that maybe is. Byram is a good example of a guy that, again, building a defense that doesn't have a true number 1, but a conglomerate of good guys like Florida, and also acquiring devalued assets, right? So a guy like Byram, maybe not devalued, but isn't going to cost as much as a Dahlin. You're not going to maybe have to pay through the nose for a guy like that. Justin Falk is another guy that stood out to me for the Blues. Obviously, that team has kind of got off to a slow start this year. And one that I actually think is really interesting, and I wonder what you think of this guy, is Brendan Montour. And the reason why I mentioned Montour is Montour has a long contract, so it depends on how much you like this guy if you are the Sharks. You may not like him enough to take on that contract, but he is older. He is 31. He is signed through... for a while, right? And so I want to double check. So it's going to be a risk. So there is a huge risk to 2031. So there is a huge risk element with the Brandon Montour. But right now in Seattle, after a quick start, they've slowed down. They have Brandon Montour, as far as I can tell, playing PP2 because they have Vince Dunn there. And so his numbers are kind of, how do you say it? They're probably lower than they should be. So he's a guy that might welcome going to a team where he can play PP1, which he did in Florida when he won a Stanley Cup with them, by the way. So he could be kind of a good sort of that's a devalued asset that you can get for, a quarter of the price of a Quinn Hughes, and obviously not be as good as Quinn Hughes, but be kind of that sort of placeholder kind of guy. And yeah, his contract lasts a little while, but that maybe you can stomach for a while, and you can get him to help your team next couple of years, and also maybe into the hopeful cup contending years. Before I finish this thought, so all these guys have different kind of elements that make them maybe slightly cheaper than they should be. You know, Byram is younger, but he's obviously not quite proven himself as a true top pairing, even top 4 guy for a playoff team, right? He obviously had a nice run with the Avs when they went to the final, but since then with the Sabres hasn't quite completely found his footing. Justin Falk has an awesome contract. He just has 2 years left, and he's a bit older, 33, so he can still play. But because his contract is so good and he's right-handed, he actually might be a little more expensive. And like I said, Brandon Montour is a guy that I saw as like, okay, this is a guy that maybe Seattle just is willing to kind of give up for, you know, again, half his value as a player, just because the contract doesn't fit in their plans. And Seattle maybe sort of, you know, we'll see what Seattle does the rest of the season, but maybe Seattle kind of changes their plan of attack for their organization.
Yeah, I get a little bit sketched out with the 31-year-old, 32-year-old with like a 7-year deal or what have you, because of Vlasic.
That's where you find your deals, though.
That is where you find your deals. If you're looking for that kind of on the margins kind of a thing, you could definitely get that. I mean, they could also sell Vince Dunn, who's a UFA in 2 years, if they're really trying
younger,
to.
But yeah,
a little younger, probably higher in the lineup guy.
He is like a PP. He's PP1. Montour is lower. Yeah.
A couple other ones just to think about, like if these teams don't do well, like if Edmonton doesn't turn this ship around and McDavid's shipped off, is Evan Bouchard also shipped off at some point? He's an interesting guy. Obviously lots of defensive concerns with Evan Bouchard, but if you're looking for a Carlson, Letang-ish power play 1-ish guy, like you could do worse than Evan Bouchard. And if you know, in 2 years Edmonton is not, you know, they're trying to.
He seems less
David.
Realistic, though. You know, that's what I mean. Like, right, of all the names we mentioned, I feel like as long as you have McDavid and Draisaitl, that they're going to be in it, you know, in it,
for
or
right
trying
now,
to be in
absolutely.
it.
So. This is in like 2 years. If Edmonton doesn't right this ship and they don't win a cup, and they are like, okay, McDavid's given us his, you know, 2 years of his no raise contract and super, like that's it. He's going to move at the end of that contract if they don't win the cup. So, like I would imagine, unless, you know, crazier things have happened, but it seems like he's moving. So if he does, then the whole thing's got to come down with it. You know,
no,
like,
you're right.
So that's just something to think about 2 years from now. But for this summer, I don't know. Like I would, like you said, go after somebody like Fox. Fox would be so interesting because Rangers have not. They have Shesterkin and they have Panarin, but he's even a UFA at the end of this year. Do
you think he's still true number one, though? Like I said, I got some pushback on that, so I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Adam Fox, so.
He's, no, I mean, I think he's more of that offensive guy, but I think we're missing that kind of thing. It's just, he's smaller, so because he's under 6 foot, it's like the age-old, you can't be a number one defenseman if you're under 6 foot.
Well, but he's not so dumb. Quinn Hughes is under 6 foot too, but Quinn Hughes is so good
he's completely
offensively that, he's like Erik Karlsson in his prime in the sense of like, you don't need to worry about the defense because you can have the puck so much, in theory at least. And so,
But he still like can play. I think he would be, for the Sharks, absolutely our number one. Just, and he's young enough. He's only like 26, 27, something like that. So
I think he's 28, but the point is taken though. Yeah, he's not too old.
Yeah, he
27.
Yeah. So I don't I would rather go for that kind of like high ceiling rather than take on like Montour. But at the same time, it's going to be harder to acquire Fox and Werenski than it would be to acquire Montour, Falk, Byram if they're trading him. So. But Byram's
I would say the micro MO though is to kind of wait though, right? Like from what I understood, I think it was reported by Pierre that the Sharks weren't one of like the 5-6 teams really in on Quinn Hughes. I don't know if they checked in, but I also checking around. I don't get the sense that like it was something that they were really in on either.
Yeah.
And that seems more my career MO, to be a little more cautious. Let's bide our time and let's wait for that moment. And this would have been jumping the gun a little bit. If Bill Guerin was GM of the Sharks, Quinn Hughes might be a Shark. Or other GMs that in the past that we've seen are a bit more aggressive, right? And Mike, throughout his time here, has kind of proven to be just a little more methodical, you know. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have a GM that jumps the gun a little bit, because Quinn Hughes is a fucking special player. Like, you know, you jump the gun on Quinn Hughes, maybe free agents will sign, maybe you build that, you know, you get that team quicker there to Stanley Cup contention than you would have expected. But just seeing with Mike, like he doesn't make a move for, like, Askarov actually was a huge risk and gamble, actually. And for my career, that was actually kind of unlike him, maybe. But he waited until Askarov asked for a trade and wanted out, and probably got Askarov at least the lower end of his value, which is still very expensive, but at the lower end of his value, then, you know, I mean, he did say he asked on Askarov a year before. I think he did say that on the record, and so I'm sure he inquired about Quinn Hughes, but he probably heard like, "Yep, nope, I'm not trading that. Nope, I'm going to try to sign him in 2027, maybe." You know, that's
It is. I mean, we're getting there, right? We're getting slowly more competitive on defense, and that's all we asked for over the summer was a more competitive defense. That's what I asked for. Right. And one top 4 guy, we got that in Orlov. So slow and steady. They may have hit
with Klingberg, so they may have hit 2 of the 3 guys they signed. So that's
I mean, that's good. Slow and steady. I think we just want it all to be built through the draft, and I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think we're going to acquire, like, obviously, somebody's going to come through the draft probably and be a long-term Shark on defense besides Dickinson, but or you hope so at least. But I think it's going to be trade, like you said, or they sign a big guy in UFA at some point. But who that exactly is, we're going to have to read the tea leaves and then keep following like all the news about who's unhappy, and it still won't be that guy. It'll be somebody that we never expected, and then we'll get them.
Who's the realistic guy here that we've talked about, though? So you like Fox and
I really
and
like
Byron,
Fox
maybe, right?
And Werenski as well. If
Werenski,
Columbus tries to do something, but God, nobody knows what Columbus is doing. Like they're just it's always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps with Columbus, which is always kind of sad because that team has got interesting pieces, but
they do.
And Fantilli's been good.
I mean, in a month from now, it might be irrelevant because Columbus seems like a team that could go on a heater. Obviously, Winnipeg with Hellebuck, that's a team that feels like it could go on a heater. I feel like Boston could be vulnerable, and the Rangers, because I don't love how the Bruins have drafted. I like the high end of their talent, but I don't like how they drafted. The Rangers are a team that, like the Sharks 6 years ago, that seem to be just trying to kick the can along, but it's going to catch up to them like almost certainly, right? Yep. And so they're going to be vulnerable.
God,
Vancouver was trying to kick the
I'm just thinking about that. Panarin's a UFA of $11.6 million contract is finally over. Like, what are they going to do? Like, if he walks and goes to fucking somewhere, I don't know what they're going to do.
Classic Rangers is ID who the biggest UFA there is and offer him more money than everybody else. I don't know who that is up front this year because I just looked at on defense. But anyway, though, so those Boston and New York seem kind of interesting that way. Mm-hmm. Rasmus Anderson, just because he is a UFA, and you always like the idea of signing a guy and not having to trade assets away for it. So that's an interesting kind of avenue. I think I had a reader suggest Rasmus Anderson like last year, and so I think she may have been right that this could be interesting target. Montour is interesting just because I think he's going to be very devalued, but you're right, the contract is scary. So maybe Justin Falk is a good middle ground there of a guy that is a kind of a placeholder, but still very, very good player. Byron too, obviously, if he ever becomes available. But it's hard to say, right? But you're right though. That's probably going to be a defense by committee that the Sharks are going to have to try to build probably to win a Stanley Cup.
And sometimes you have one of the best forwards in the league at some point in the future. Celebrini will be. So
you have it already. I think that's the thing.
According to Sheng Peng, you have him already.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
it's tough.
I think he may not be top 5 as high as like Dan Boyle was suggesting a couple months. But that road trip though, he did I think maybe play like a top 5 forward. But we're talking top 10. Yeah. I think that's real. Top 20 for sure. I talked with a couple of players over the last couple of months, just off the record, just, hey, what do you really think of Macklin? And top 10, they were a little hesitant, but I think that's more just because he's so young. It's not because he's not good enough. And they were like top 20 for sure, though. Like, there's not even a question in their head. A top 20 player. I'm not saying top 24. Top 20 player in this league. So if NHL guys are already saying top 20 for sure, then you can make an argument for top 10. I think. And so if he is there, and what has he shown in the last 3 months is tell you he's not there. I mean, he looks like he's there. Right.
So in the future, he's going to be top 5, maybe, like it's
maybe even better, than that. And so you need to start, like I said, he's dragged the timeline forward because I thought this year that would be a step up. He would be like a point per game guy for sure, maybe touch 90 points in that realm, right? I use examples of, okay, but sometimes guys take a leap, like Stamkos did that, where his sophomore or his rookie year, he was just good. And then the next year, like first year, he scored 23 goals. Next year, he scored like 46. Macklin may be taking a step beyond even that because Macklin's game isn't just goal scoring, obviously, right? Now we're talking about Macklin, like he may score as many points as Sidney Crosby did in the second year. Plus, he adds all this other stuff. And he fights.
And he
doesn't really fight, but
big fighter.
But
that guy.
You know what I mean, though, right? So so he's definitely dragged it ahead, and so that's why I didn't even think about the Quinn Hughes thing because like that guy Quinn Hughes is that fucking talented, right? Or think about Brandon Montour, who like I would have laughed at such a deal like over the summer, like no way you take on a guy that's 30 with that kind of contract right now. That would be the same thing as signing Erik Ekblad because the Sharks weren't there yet, but they are there now, I think. Because of Macklin. So
yeah, I guess the other consideration is it just the beginning, right? Like you're supposed to have Macklin for 15 years, so you gotta balance it out, and that's why Mike Greer is the GM and not us. You got to balance out like if you get a guy like Montour or whatever, are you going to be regretting having him in 3 years when you're like, I could be making a better playoff team, but I don't have the money or the space or what have you. I can't move Montour. Even though the cap's going to go up a lot. So the issue is really going to be asset acquiring. Like the cap isn't as much of an issue, especially for the Sharks. Like getting the guys that you need to be around Celebrini is going to be the biggest issue. And they've done a good job in the draft, like a job in the draft. Like it's definitely an A, right? But they need to get a few more.
Looks like it.
They need to get a few more guys on defense to really be stars, and that's the whole point. That's why we keep talking about it. I think we've been talking about this for like 2 years or more. Ever since we got Celebrini, we're like, what are we going to do on defense? Shit.
Well, and I mentioned this in an article I wrote about whether or not the Sharks should have made a pass on Quinn Hughes. That maybe this conversation is different next trade deadline because, like, maybe for now Mike Greer can focus on building up the depth of this team. So then you can make a trade for Quinn Hughes next year to take that swing, and it feels like, okay, this team might be a player away. Or you have not just Mike Greer, obviously, making moves, but also, too, a guy like Colin Graff. Maybe somebody like that pops up from the system. Like, okay, this guy is going to be a part of a playoff Sharks team. He has the two-way, the all-around game that you're looking at. And that could be a Cardwell taking another step, or it could be a Polcab or Cagnoni or any of those guys, right? Where you start to feel good about Beestead about the depth of this team. And then a deal like that makes more sense. Or going for Quinn Hughes during 2027 free agency, if he reaches it, then that's okay. That's when you kind of push your chips to the middle of the table. And so it'll be really interesting to see the next year or so. Like, I know there's a lot of talk about how the Sharks can improve their defense with the number one guy, and maybe that's not the talk now, right? It's like you mentioned, like you got to build a defense, improve it as a conglomerate, And a guy like Byram does make sense because he's at the right age to kind of grow with this team. Like we talked about during the summer when we talked with Bill Hoppy about it, right? Like he's the right age for the Sharks. And so maybe that's what we should be focusing on, about just building the depth overall. So then you can make that swing for Quinn Hughes, and it feels like Minnesota that you're just maybe a player away.
Yeah. A team like Montreal went out and got Noah Dobson, even though they just are getting Lane Hudson in his prime or into his like most productive era, but they still felt like they needed to get that like even better on defense. So even if we had Lane Hudson on our team, like we'd still be looking for another guy on the right side and more minute punching. So it's not all
Dobson makes more sense now, right? Yeah.
Huh?
Dobson makes more sense now for the Sharks than he did over the summer.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely is like this team's outlook is way different, and I hope that Mike Greer has not had to have this kind of mentality really, like he did with Askarov, like you said, but he hasn't had to go out fishing for the big names yet. So we'll see. I'm excited to see if he can pull something off rather than just because he's really good at selling. He's made some great moves to sell people, and he's made some excellent picks, and he obviously hit with the Askarov deal to get him.
And he's swooped in on some of the excellent bargain bin hunting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Mackenzie Blackwood being a prime example of that, right? Even Orlov to some degree, like a slightly devalued guy. But now might be time to go, Doug Wilson language, big game hunting. Might be time.
Yeah.
At least
Call
start
up
looking,
Doug
start
Wilson,
looking.
get some backdoor numbers, get some dirt on some guys, and go. I'm kidding. Anyway, but no, you're right. It's time. I think, especially if they keep playing like this. Like if they're still a playoff team into the trade deadline and stuff, it's like, man, what could another defenseman do for us if we could get somebody? But
Rasmus Dahlin's going to be a UFA. Not Dahlin, Anderson. Rasmus Anderson's going to be UFA. Calgary's obviously stumbled this year, so that might be somebody. But it's going to be expensive, though. It's going to be a lot more than you like to trade at a trade deadline. But I can't even believe we're talking about this, too. We're actually talking about the Sharks acquiring guys at a trade deadline that can help them make the playoffs.
Randy said it so emphatically. We can't get it out of our brain.
Trade Edmonton's first for Rasmus Anderson.
Boom, easy peasy.
Do it.
And then sign him to an extension immediately. And then bam, got it.
All right, so do we have a Keegan's Prospects Corner? Do we have the music queued up? I feel like we don't have the music queued up, though.
Yes, we do.
We can't do this,
Prospect Corner. Let me see if the music is still on here.
Okay.
It is, maybe?
And,
yes, it is. Okay.
I have enough battery. Yeah, I have a 20% battery on my laptop, so I'm ready for Prospects Corner. Okay.
Well, probably not.
Are we done with our number one defense talk, or?
I think so. I don't have any other things to add other than, Dickinson's a top 4 piece in the future. Mukabaduan's still a question mark, but I like him as a future project. I wonder if he gets. Still hoping. I wonder if he honestly gets moved into a deal for a guy like Byram, right? Like,
yeah, that one makes sense actually.
First plus Mukabaduan or whatever.
I don't think he'd be a centerpiece anymore, unfortunately, because it's been too long. But he's definitely one of those like, oh, who is that guy? Like, oh, he could be good, like the Liam Ogren type. Like, oh, that guy can be good.
Yeah, like it's like a sweetener.
Extra value. Yeah, like a real sweetener though, like a real
has upside that's untapped theoretically. You kind of want him. Yeah, so I think that could be an interesting thing too. That you could try to. I like Mook, but maybe there's a better fit on another team for him too. So, all right, are you ready?
So excited. Oh no, I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing it. You gotta do it. Yeah, you gotta upload it. I think. Yeah.
Hold on.
I like your dance though. That was a very Brad Pitt burn after reading dance right there.
All right, let's try it again. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
I'll turn it down to touch.
There you go.
Yes.
Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner.
Amazing. If you stayed all the way for 2.5 hours just for that, you're here you are. And
I did.
No, I mean not you. The person, the 12% of people who are still here. That's probably what we rotain to our end of our episodes. Okay, we're gonna cover two guys. One 2026 draft eligible and one Sharks prospect. As we do, we're gonna cover Tynan Lawrence and Teddy Butrin.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah, sleeper guy. Okay.
Yeah. Tynan Lawrence first, because if you weren't aware, Corey Pronman off The Athletic decided to put Tynan Lawrence as his number one prospect, above Gavin McKenna, Keaton Verhoff, Stenberg. He jumped, I don't know, 10, 15 spots.
He has him going number one in the 2026 draft?
He does, as of like a week ago.
I actually didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, he jumped everybody.
I don't pay attention to draft coverage till like February or March. And maybe with this Sharks team, maybe not till April or May, but
yeah, no, normally we're like on top of it from day one, but now we're like
October on, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Corey Pronman put Tynan Lawrence, who is one of the only true centers in the top end of this draft. So that's part of the reason why. He's like a 6'1", really well-built center, plays in the USHL. He was, I think he was injured at the beginning of the year and wasn't playing, and then came back in, has played 9 games so far for Muskegon, and has got 13 points in 9 games. I have a couple thoughts. I think this was Corey kind of like staking his flag, right? Like, this guy has been injured, or he's not been playing, and he went on a tear as soon as he came back, and he looked really, really good. And he's really young as well. He's an August birthday. So he's like, I'm putting him number one, and he's a center, and there's no other centers. And Gavin McKenna's been, quote unquote, struggling. So I think it's him just kind of planting his flag. Do I think that Tynan Lawrence will go number one? I doubt it. I watched a couple of his games. Because I was interested in this jump up, and there's a lot to like. Obviously, if you can picture an NHL center who has a reliable 200-foot game, that has good speed, it's good shot, good playmaker, can get to the front of the net, he battles super well, he's a very competitive player on the boards, he does like all of the good things really, really well.
Talking about Macklin Celebrini?
You're talking about Macklin, but not to that level of...
Tynan Lawrence, by the way, did go to Shattuck, by the way. And obviously, Macklin also played in USHL. So there's a little bit of that. So
yes, but I think the skill...
And Tynan Lawrence is actually set to go to BU next year.
See? Literally is our draft pick. But I don't... The skill gap between Lawrence and Macklin at this stage... I think is like staggering. Like, it's not like Tynan Lawrence is bad, right? He's a good hockey player. He reminds me more of the mold of like Nico Hischier or Nolan Patrick, that draft where those two centers went up high because they were the centers, and like they're good. And Nolan Patrick had obviously like a career-ending, a bunch of injuries, but it kind of reminds me of that. Like, you're trying to reach for something because of their position, because of the way that they play, they're super well-rounded, that you're hopeful that this, or like a Barrett Hayton would be a good example too.
Sure.
You're hopeful that they turn into more, but they might just end up being like a good middle six center. Where he sure is a little bit, that's not true of him. He's more of a first-line center, or like a 1A, 1B kind of center. But, you miss out on guys like Cale Makar and Miro Heiskanen and Elias Pettersson because you are like, yeah, Hischier and Patrick, they're good centers. We like good centers. And that's what I worry about with putting Tynan Lawrence number one.
I think in fairness, though, to that draft, obviously Patrick dealt with a lot of injuries, but like they were the clear-cut guys in that draft. There was not that much discussion about the other guys being at least in the 1-2 caliber. And I do want to mention that.
But a lot of the discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Well, I just want to remind, though, that in the summer of 2023, that we didn't know what Macklin was. And that's not on us, but like everybody was just like, is he going to be number one? Cole Yzerman? But, we saw that Macklin blew that away. Granted, Macklin did it in college, which I think was a big part of it, right? Whereas Lawrence is going to be at the USHL, actually kind of the McKenna path, right? In a junior league, and then. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. No, that's not like McKenna, because he's going to get drafted
like
this year.
Will Smith league.
Yeah, but nonetheless, though, so Yeah, I just think that's really interesting that Corey, because Corey wouldn't do that if someone wasn't telling him, scouts, I mean, right?
I think
there's definitely momentum here.
Yeah, he came off like gangbusters and had like when he came back, he had 4
Well, he
points.
has 8 goals in 9 games. I see here, and he's the captain of Muskegon. So yeah, it's
yeah, he came out of those like after his injury, like super hot, and he looked the part of because he was like ranked in the top 10-ish kind of area, and then it looked like okay, this guy's got enough skill, and I like that he plays that Macklin style where he gets super deep in the defensive zone and will support his teammates for a breakout. Like he's really far back because he's got good skating, that he is there for a breakout, and he is really competitive on the boards. I think there's some kind of like floating behavior when the puck's just kind of going around his zone that is still very junior-esque that I thought that was a little bit not what I was expecting for people saying that he's like a ready NHL center. I was like, I don't know, he's kind of floating around, he's not using his edges or stops and starts to follow the play. He's just kind of like floating and curling back and doing a lot of that. Like Will Smith used to do that a lot too in juniors, so it's not like it's just a junior thing. Like you just kind of float around the ice instead of like actually following the play. But anyway, I like him. I think he's a really good fit for a team that's looking for a possible middle six center, likely a number 2 center, I think. I just I thought it was super crazy too. I was like, Tynan Lawrence number 1, what am I missing? And I do think that there was a lot of that momentum when he came back from injury, and that there's no centers, and that Gavin McKenna's been struggling, that he kind of just like staked his claim as number 1. And you're right. Somebody probably told him like this guy could go number 1 because he's checked a lot of boxes where, you know, it's not like anybody else has him number 1, right? Craig Button has number 9, Chris Peters number 6, Tony Ferrari number 2. It's pretty high. EP has him number 7. So it's kind of like, and Chris Peters number 6, like I said, it's kind of all over the place as of now, but somebody to keep an eye on for the future, that he could be a higher pick than we think he is. There's just not a lot of centers. It's him and Rubrick has had kind of a down year so far. So it's he will go top 5, I'm sure.
Granted, the list that you cite too, we don't know exactly when these lists came out, right? So because obviously you said Corey was just a couple of days ago, so he's gotten the I guess the experience since Lawrence, you mentioned, just came back from injury. But okay, exactly. So for you are, at the moment at least, you're staking your flag that you don't think he's going to go number 1. So what's your list right now at this moment then? Your top 3, let's say. Top 3.
Still pretty chalk at McKenna, Stenberg, Verhoff.
Okay.
Ivar Stenberg's been awesome. I actually don't really worry that Ivar Stenberg's not going to be an NHLer at a good one like that. At that, he's going to be a good winger.
Okay, let's hold off on Stenberg then, even McKenna talk. Yeah, so for a future prospects corner,
I would say Tynan Lawrence has moved ahead of like Belchet's.
Okay,
but that would be my. I don't have a full, and then Smith's as well is in the top 10, based on his play. So I don't know. I'll put out an actual top 16 at some point, probably after Christmas. It's just too early.
Okay.
I do like the chutzpah to put Tynan Lawrence that high. It kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, but looking through it, I get it. I think it's more of Corey's trying to not game the system, but trying to read the tea leaves of what's going to happen with the draft based on who's there. And he's the center that's going to go high. So
it's the 2026 draft. The Sharks have won the lottery, but they won the number 2 pick. The number 1 pick is Verhoff.
Yes, exactly. Damn it.
The Sharks dropped another center or
another one. Yeah. I don't know. Honestly,
well, that's a good problem to have. So
yeah, we'll have to revisit that one. I couldn't tell you. I do want to talk about Teddy Mutrin because I didn't dog on this pick, but I just didn't see it, I guess. Like
3rd round pick, 2025. A lot of questions about his skating. So
yes, exactly. He was, I think, 95th overall. There wasn't a lot of picks left at this point. Like there wasn't a lot of high end guys.
Shallow draft. Yep.
Exactly. It felt like the talent pool had really taken off after the 2nd round. You were running out of options for picks, so Teddy Mutrin felt like the safe bet as a pick. And watching him, he's had a good growth curve. He's playing the QMJHL this year, hopping over from the USNTDP.
Right?
Yeah, from USHL, Chicago Steel. He looks good. He has 31 points in 26 games. He is 14 points. He's playing center, generally second line center for Moncton, as opposed to winger. And a couple of things that I really like about him. He's a good face-off guy. I like the way that he's very physical on face-offs. He gets very low on his face-offs. He's very quick. I think he's at like 55% on his draws. And yes, it's the QMJHL, so who the hell knows who's good on face-offs at the QMJHL level? But like, he looks good doing it. He just looks very comfortable taking draws. So I think that's something that's going to set him up in the future. He loves to hit. He's a great checker. He never shies away from the body. He's
right. That was part of his MO, right? Yeah, he was a physical player. So
yep, physical guy, great checker. He's kind of using his slow speed because he's not fast. To get into the boards, he doesn't beat guys with speed. He just gets his butt in front of them, skates with them, and He basically like gets in front of them, uses body position, gets to the puck using his positioning first, which I don't know if that's really going to work at the next level because a lot of guys will just out race you to the puck, be faster than you, even if you like try to muscle out, them. That's the thing that I kind of worry about is like he's building this game as a checker, as a puck retriever, but I don't know if he has the speed to really do it. Whereas a guy he's a good comp of his is a guy like Goodrow, where he's this is like clearly Goodrow is like the example of how you become a bottom six checker that is very effective. But Goodrow has better speed than Muchum does right now by far.
Right.
And that's what you need is like, yes, it's good to be physical. It's good to have that ability to leverage your body, but you need the speed, and I don't know if he's got it just yet. I think.
Have you seen the growth in the skating from last year though? Because obviously he doesn't need to be Connor McDavid. He just needs to be fast enough, right?
Yeah.
Get
he's
faster for each
not
level.
Slow.
So
He just like if you're noticing, like when I watch players, especially in the QMJHL, if I'm noticing that they feel slow to me in the QMJHL, that means that they're probably slower than I think they should be, because the Q is I won't say the fastest paced league, and it's also it's physical at times. It's very physical, but it's not very fast, and you can get fooled if a guy is like, some guys look really, really fast, but they're not, just because of the speed is a little slower in that league. So if he's already kind of like average at that level, I'm a little concerned about it. But I like his faceoffs. I like his defensive work. I like his hitting. I think he's got a good shot too. When he carries the puck through the neutral zone a couple of times, I was like, oh, that looks really good. I think you should foster that a little bit more, but he's more of a dump and chase guy overall. But I think there is a little bit of skill there with his hands that could come out. So more improvement with his skill in his hands, more skating improvement. I think that he kind of screams to me career AHL scorer, but he could also be fourth line defensive center if that really pans out, and he's got a ton of compete in him as well. So I like the pick just because I liked it more now than I did then. I was like, from what I've seen him, he faded. Like every time I watched him on the U18 team, he was just kind of there, and I never was like really excited about him. I was just like, okay, Teddy Buchan's on the ice, cool. He's gonna hit a few pokes, but it seems like now he's found a good role with Moncton that I'm more excited about his future. I think it was a good career path. Next year he's going to go to BC supposedly, so I think honestly I would, it's interesting that he's going to go right into college, because I think he's going to take another step back again just for the speed. I think maybe another year in the queue would have been good, but who knows. Maybe he develops it by the end of the year and hits the ground running at BC. He plays a very college style of play, very physical, very heavy. So I like it. Seems like I think I like Carson Wesch a little bit more in terms of his upside, but similar type of thought process, which is take your third or fourth round pick, get a guy that can play hockey, and see where it goes from there.
Get a guy who cares a lot too, who's going to work his ass off to be the best possible player.
Yep, who's got a lot of bite to him and a lot of hitting, and I think Wetch has his hands aren't they're pretty equivocal, but Wetch got a better shot, better positioning to get into shooting opportunities than Muchin. Muchin does most of his work around the net. Really good net front guy, very wide stance, like boxes out super good in the front of the net. People can't really move him, which is good. I think he could have a role as like a fourth line center in the future. It's just going to be an uphill battle just based on skill and skating. But I like it.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know if that's a damper or excitement, but he has been playing really well, and I wanted to look at him.
Yeah. So and it sounds like he's progressing well, which is all you're looking for. You're not asking Teddy Mutryn to be Macklin, Celebrini, or Will Smith, or
not Will Smith. You're looking for him to make a responsible game, and he already has a lot of the elements there of a NHL checker. It's just the speed is what I think is going to be. People will kind of maybe a little surprised because he uses again like his frame and tries to just kind of get in front of people to get into the boards rather than actually racing to the boards. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. That's Keegan's prospect corner for this week.
Keegan's,
I don't know. We should
prospects corner.
We should do like a request thing so people can request if they want to. Because like I just choose guys based off of what's happening, and I chose Lawrence because of what Corey did last week, and then Mutryn because he's been having good games for this past couple weeks. So I watched a few of those to see.
All right.
And
if you guys are interested, do you have any requests at halfwall_hockey on Twitter?
Oh, I don't say it anymore in the beginning of the episode, so I don't even remember. I think it's halfwall_hockey.
You think it is?
Or you can leave it in the comments on YouTube if you want to. If you're the one of the 12% that are still here. I have a quick shout out to Hodge on HF Boards, who has made the claim that he made the call and graph meme and not me, and I don't know. I'm still sticking by that I made it and not him, but. I know that if I don't say it, he's gonna be like, you gotta mention me. Hodge is also like Hodge is one of the people that he's like he's the HF Board Sharks villain. He's kind of just a negative Nancy, a little bit of a party pooper, and he knows that. But he's also one of the few people that told me when I was doing my like prospect write-ups, he told me to contact you to get on the
really.
On San Jose Hockey Now.
And I recognize the name too because I remember it from HF Boards. Also, the Ken Hodge classic hockey player. He and his son actually. So I like it. But Hodge, I'm sorry though, Keegan has the power of media behind him. So
that's true.
Keegan
I've already been retweeted by Randy Hahn. So it's to. What are those? Some of the history, Victor spoils, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Look at this. It's Keegan's meme.
Anyway, Hodge, I thank you for telling me to contact Sheng, or else I wouldn't be on this podcast today anyway. I would just be writing up prospect write-ups on HF Boards still, which
it is halfwall_hockey.
Yeah.
So
and hopefully, I still write up, prospect things on HF Boards all the time because it's fun, and that's honestly what got me into doing this. So. My last thing, because this is my quarter, so I can say whatever I want, was my experience watching that Pittsburgh game. And I didn't want to say it when it was like in front of like everybody. It was the craziest thing because I was on a plane, right? I got on my plane at 3:00, and I got first class tickets. I never get first class tickets, but I did because this flight was super fucking cheap for first class. I was like, yeah, that's worth it. So I got first class tickets for me and Anna. Our flight's at 3. The Sharks game starts at 3:00. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for like the plane to take off to get my laptop out. We set up like a little thing in front of us. So we have the laptop in the middle. The 2 tray tables are there. We get dinner because it's a 4-hour flight-ish. And it's first class. So we get dinner. So Anna and I are watching the Sharks and it's just a fucking stinker. And I'm like, this sucks. Right. They're losing 5-1. We've got dinner and a show, but it's like, sucks. So then Anna
sucks.
Yeah, the show sucks, but we're still watching it. There's nothing else to do. And Anna starts to like drift off to sleep right in the third period. And she goes to bed in the third period. And I'm sitting there like, okay, it's fine. She's asleep. And 1 goal goes in and 2 goals go in. And I'm like looking over at her. I'm like, are you going to wake up? And because we're listening on headphones together. And she's not waking up. And I'm like, wake up. Wake up. But I don't wake her up. And like we go all the way through it. And we get to the very end, and then they win, and I hear Randy's voice screaming in my ear, and I'm like, "How are you not waking up to this?" Sharks. I'm like, "How are you not waking up to this? They're winning," and she doesn't wake up. Yeah, afterwards I was like, "You missed literally the most epic game ever." She's like, "I went to sleep. It's 5-1. What am I supposed to do?" Anyway.
Hey, if she woke up, might have ruined the mojo. All right, you know how these things work. So
her going to bed made the reason why the Sharks won.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a lot of sad news over the weekend about Providence, where I live, with a mass shooting as well, and that was the thing that actually I woke her up for, because I was looking on Twitter after the game, and I was like, "Oh my God, we were literally just there," and so that was awful. But anyway, it's been kind of a up and down Keegan's prospect corner, as it always is. So, all right, Sheng. Till next time. Anything else for this week?
Nope, that's it. I'm at like 8% battery, so we're jumping off right on time. So yeah, we haven't hit 3 hours yet. So yeah, so let's get off before we hit 3 hours.
Yep. We will see you all probably next week. It's probably going to be our last show before Christmas next week, I would imagine. And we will see you then. Bye, everybody.